Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a Thursday edition, very special Thursday edition of the Rodcast. NFL Draft Day today, so we got NFL Draft discussion to get to on the show. Some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Dallas Cowboys may have a reunion coming up with one of their favorite players. We'll also get into Texas football and Texas basketball. The transfer portal, it give it and it take it away. We'll talk about the transfer portal departures and acquisitions for both Texas men's basketball and for Texas football. We'll get into that here in the first segment. NBA playoff review. You had a little shakeup in the first round of the NBA playoffs. We'll get to that coming up here in this segment as well. We also have some in the NFL draft, Longhorn related NFL draft discussion. We'll get to the Longhorn related NFL draft. There's some mock drafts that are out. Bucky Brooks, his last mock draft is out. Jordan Reed has a 7-round mock draft. His last round mock draft out. We'll review where the Longhorns stand in their last mock drafts. We'll also get into your usual favorites on the show. We got the big fat poll of the day. We'll also have your musically themed day of the week, of course. We got off the record. We got what the facts, what the stats. We got who said that. Lots to get into on the show. Some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. So 2 players on the same team, actually, 2 of the better players in the actually request a trade yesterday. We'll talk about what the domino effect of that could be. There is a new contract that we have to discuss. Amon-Ra St. Brown signs a new contract. He's an all-pro receiver, one of the best in the NFL. So Cowboys fans who are waiting on that CeeDee Lamb contract, there's some discussion we can have there about the market of the wide receiver market, which obviously the Cowboys are going to have to test at one time or another with that CeeDee Lamb contract. We'll get into that and more. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. My man, he's the real MVP on this show, one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid, but I do know that the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's my friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing good. It is draft day. I'm very excited to enjoy the draft. Depending on what mock drafts you're looking at, Texas players could go really early or maybe a little bit later, but most people have 3 in the first round. So excited to see that. It's going to be a fun draft day tonight. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking about it with you for the next few hours. Rod, let me introduce my co-host. He is a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Yeah, thank you for the intro as always, brother. I've gone back and forth. I've gone from 2 to 3. And I'm just going to go with 3 to be optimistic. Just going to go with 3. I've been saying it for a while. I think most of the time I go 3, but I've been back and forth because depending on how many mock drafts I'm looking at and depending on they change, everybody's got like 6, 7 mock drafts at this point. You'll see just kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes it seems like there are a lot of teams that are high on Xavier Worthy. Sometimes it seems like there are a lot of teams that are not that as high on Xavier Worthy. But there's no doubt Byron Murphy's in the first round. And I'm going to go with 3. I think a couple of days ago, I was at 2 again. I was like, you know what? I think it's going to be 2. The X-Man might drop to the second. So I'm going to go with 3. My final, obviously the draft is today. I'll go with 3 in the first round. If the Longhorns do have 3 Longhorns drafted in the first round, it'll be the first time since 1980. Since the year I was born, the Longhorns have 3 players drafted in the first round. So it's been a long time, but I do think it's trending that way. I think you'll have to how high are teams on Xavier Worthy? He's the fastest man in the history of the NFL Combine. I know some teams are just salivating over him. I just don't know how many of them are going to be in a position to take Xavier Worthy in the first round. There's already talks that Miami's obsessed with him, and they're looking at him potentially as not a Tyreek Hill replacement, but as a guy that can add to the fastest team potentially in NFL history. So a lot of talk.
Mel Kiper had a different place where he was going to go too that we have not even mentioned yet. That I did not see as one.
Yeah. I know, and it seems like I said there are a lot of. I knew Peter Schrager's got another final mock draft out from Good Morning Football, and then he's got another place where he's got Xavier Worthy that I haven't seen Xavier Worthy mock, and he's got Xavier Worthy higher than I've seen Xavier Worthy mocked in any mock draft. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a mock draft where they got Xavier Worthy this high. So we'll get into that. We'll have just kind of a mock draft session and get into that coming up a little bit later on the show. It's a lot of fun, but hopefully coming up when the NFL draft happens later on today. Hopefully a lot of Longhorn celebration because there should be a lot of Longhorn representation in that first round. All right. We'll talk about, of course, that on tomorrow. Of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but we'll get into predictions and prognostications about the NFL draft. Of course, you can join the conversation. Please do. The text line is the best way to do it. 512-447-3776. My man Patrick, the real MVP, he'll give you Horn headlines here momentarily. We'll get the Horn headlines done, and after that, we'll discuss the transfer portal first and foremost. Let's start here close to home. Texas basketball. So I'm sure Texas basketball fans are excited because Rodney Terry's been putting in work this offseason in the transfer portal. Got himself another one. Longhorn football, we knew this. Now finishing up spring, you got those spring meetings happening with the players. More and more guys starting to trickle into the transfer portal, I should say, and out of the program. So we'll discuss another departure, another one in the defensive backfield. So maybe behind the burnt orange curtain next segment, I'll dive into the defensive backfield and some of their woes from last season and some of the woes that I actually got a chance to watch and chart in that Texas spring game. And now you're looking at departures of starters and also veteran contributors. So there's no doubt the Texas defensive backfield, it might now be the biggest question mark on the team. It was the interior defensive line, but if they end up grabbing another transfer portal acquisition for the defensive line, Dominic Williams was in town, went to VY Steakhouse, was at Four Seasons hanging out, having a good time, had a Lamborghini to drive around town, which is awesome. I can't imagine what the insurance is to just have somebody to rent a Lamborghini for somebody and have them drive it. And then, because he didn't have to go through the process of like being there to like check it out. And
you don't think he waited
collateral?
Yeah, he waited in line and
no, so they give him his ID and then give him a credit card on file. No, that was just Texas like, all right, no, we'll take full responsibility and liability for this Lamborghini. Just give it to him. They're like, just a random dude. They're like, well, kind of. Can we do a background check? Well, no, not really. We want him to have the Lamborghini. And you know what I mean? You know what it takes to rent a car. It's like, no, to rent a Lamborghini. Yeah. Dude, I can't. That's how what do they put down? The Texas like, nah, we'll just put down. We'll just give you like $50,000. Just put it down, and then if he messes it up, you can take that, and then we'll pay the rest of it. I don't know how that works. The rent of the Lamborghinis for another, like I said, for a transfer portal recruit, it's got to be a hell of a process.
It feels like it feels like it must be, but I'm sure they have it down to a science at this point.
I'm sure they do have it down to a science. I'm just like, I'm sure they ask you questions like, who's going to be driving the Lamborghini? Just a 20-year-old, a 20-year-old dude.
Just someone who's not old enough to rent a car yet.
Just a 20-year-old dude, and we want him to party and have a good time.
Yeah.
In the Lambo? Yes, in the Lambo.
You can't rent a car till you're 25, right?
That's what I'm saying.
You rent a car till you're 25.
The conversation that it's like, no, we wouldn't make that. What will it take to make it happen?
Either that, or there's somebody sitting at that place and they're like, "You're renting a Lamborghini again?" He's like, I just love driving them.
Some old stressed out dude. That's a great point. And he's always stressed out because it's his car down there. Yeah. He's got to put up on the collateral. He's like, that's a great point. That could be it too. I hope it's not that dude. That dude is stressed out as a result. All right, there you go. So we'll get into some more transfer portal discussion because that's what's happening on these visits. That actually is a fact. We didn't having fun with that, but that is a fact. The man got to drive a Lambo. Times have changed since Robbie was being recruited. All right, let's get to the Horn headlines here first. Then we'll talk transfer portal. Then we'll do some NBA playoff review. How about the Miami Heat shaking things up? Did not see that coming. That's interesting. That was interesting. I'll give my man Patrick's thoughts about that because that's something I did not see coming. That's what I wanted to see in the first round. Shocked me a little bit. I want to be surprised and shocked, like, oh, didn't see that coming. You want the plot twist. That's the problem with the first round NBA. They had no plot twist yet, really. You want some plot twist.
No, we're starting to get them. We're starting to get them. Tonight's going to be big. Tonight's going to be big because tonight is 3 teams that are 2-0. And you're going home, and do we go to 3 series that look like they're going to be sweeps, or do teams fight back today? Tonight's a big one of teams fight back. Yesterday, we weren't expecting anything. It was 8 seeds, 1 versus 8s. Yeah. You're not supposed to see upsets. Those are supposed to be sweeps.
Not supposed to see it. Yeah, no, that was interesting. And you're right. That tonight is big because you're right. If they get up 3-0, then people will stop paying attention. Then even if they do win another game, it won't matter because the odds and history are against them. You're right about that. I like that. So if you're gonna get a plot twist, this is the time for it right here. We got one last night, so you'll get another plot twist tonight in the first round of the NBA.
Gotta have that 2 TV setup tonight.
Yeah, you're gonna need it because the draft is long. The first round is long, man.
Yeah,
It's long.
you have the draft
I say,
on, and then have
have the
the
draft
game on, and
NBA
then actually there's
playoffs.
2 games at once. So you may need a third TV.
Oh, are they doing that? The NBA playoffs are doing it? 2 games at once?
Yeah, there's 2 early games and then 1 late game.
Okay. Yeah, they're doing the 3 because yesterday did 2.
Yeah, they did 2 yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But I
so
think,
we get to that.
I'll tell you, Astros and Rangers both day games. So you don't have to worry about those. You can watch those early.
There you go. See, my man Patrick's on. That's why he's a real MVP. He's on top of it. He's also on top of our Horn headlines. So let's get to that, and then we'll talk. I want to get his thoughts about the Texas men's basketball team and their transfer portal acquisitions. But first, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with the Horn headlines of the day.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball will take on Nichols tonight in a matchup where sophomore catcher Reese Atwood will look to set the single-season RBI record for the Longhorns. Atwood tied the mark in the series last weekend. Texas, who is still currently the number 1 ranked team in the country, will push to keep their 9-game win streak and ranking alive with only 7 games left to go in the regular season. Texas basketball secured the commitment of transfer guard Jordan Pope yesterday. Pope, who averaged 17.6 points, 3.4 assists a game, while shooting 37% from 3 last season for Oregon State. Pope, who has 2 years of eligibility left, joins Tremont Mark, Julian Larry, Jason Kent as transfers added so far by the Longhorns. Texas is still waiting for decisions from center Brandon Garrison and forward Reedus Petritis. In the NBA, the Heat took a game in Boston to even the series 1-1 behind an epic shooting night, making 23 three-pointers to pick up a 111-101 win over the Celtics. And the Thunder look much more like the number 1 seed in the West with a dominant 124-92 win over the Pelicans. Tonight, 3 teams looking to avoid going down 3-0 return to their home courts, with the Magic hosting the Cavs, the Knicks heading to Philadelphia, and the Lakers facing the Nuggets. In Major League Baseball, the Astros once again allowed a big first-inning lead that they could not overcome. The Cubs put up 4 runs in the first, and a Jose Altuve 9th-inning homer was not enough, with the Astros falling 4-3. And the Rangers took the lead after back-to-back home runs from Garcia and Carter and never looked back as they defeated the Mariners 5-1. The Rangers are back in action early today with pregame starting at 1 p.m. here on the Horn.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We'll get to Texas football with another transfer portal departure. We'll get to that in just a second. But Texas basketball, let's get to it. Jordan Pope, who as a sophomore averaged over 17 points per game, 3 assists, hit over 37% of his 3-point attempts. And he was, if you look at his assist rate, it jumped to 23%. And if you look at overall, from his freshman year, true freshman year, where he started, by the way, 32 of 33 games, to his sophomore year, went from scoring 12 points to 17 points. He was Pac-12 all freshman honors as well. But this guy is this now you have your starting backcourt now with him and Tremont Mark. Is that the projection?
Him and Trey Johnson as well. Trey Johnson, your freshman coming in, is going to be your starter as well. So you're basically probably going to play 3 guards. Trey Johnson and Tremont Mark are about 6'6" each. So you can have those guys play kind of that 2-3 position. But that will be your 3 guys in the backcourt. And then what you're looking at probably is Jason Kent and Caden Shedrick as your 4 and 5 right now. That may change if you get Brandon Garrison. You see where they put him as well. They do technically, they have offers basically out to Brandon Garrison and Reedus Petritis out right now. They will have another scholarship available. If someone really good becomes available, they can go and try and make that move, or they will just try and add another young player, another sophomore or somebody like that to come in and bolster this roster and get a little bit more depth. But bringing Jordan Pope is a big get for Texas. This is a guy they really needed to get because if you don't get him, you're really trying to figure out that point guard position. You lost Chris Johnson to the portal. He probably wasn't going to be the answer anyway to be your starter this year. But you needed to have somebody brought in to be your starting point guard. Jordan Pope fills that role perfectly. He shoots threes a little bit better than Tyrese Hunter. The defense isn't going to be quite the same level as Tyrese, but he's a couple inches taller than Tyrese Hunter as well and can create a better shot. Tyrese Hunter was a good driver. And when he would drive, he could drive pretty well, finish at the rim. And, when he got hot, he could shoot threes. Jordan Pope, a little bit more consistent from 3 and can create other shots as well, can create around the basket, can drive the ball a little bit better, has a couple more moves in his bag. So offensively, he should be a much better addition than Tyrese Hunter was for a lot of the season, where when his 3-pointer wasn't hitting and he would kind of disappear in that offense. I don't think Jordan Pope is quite that level. He played in the Pac-12 as well, so it's a transfer of somebody that has played at least at a Power 5 level of college basketball. There wasn't necessarily a ton of defense in the Pac-12, but you're still playing at a Power 5 level. You're playing against top guys, so it should be a really good fit for Texas. They needed that position big, and getting Jordan Pope will be a big coup for Texas. As there was a lot of other teams looking at him. I know his pick was between Texas and Texas A&M. So anytime you beat out the Aggies, that's fun. But, Kentucky was calling him. North Carolina was calling him. So there were other schools that were reaching out to him across the country that are top programs. So it's always good when you can win one of those.
Yeah. So Rodney Terry's putting in some work. It's amazing that, college basketball every year, how different, and it happens in football too, but in football, there's so many guys. Your program's still going to have some, you're going to have guys that are there in the program for 2 and 3 years. The entire complexion of the team won't change year after year. It won't look like that. College basketball, it's amazing how every year your roster turnover in the roster for almost every team now. It just seems like they're, if you have, UConn may be one of the exceptions, but it seems like a lot of teams now you're seeing wholesale changes in the offseason via the transfer portal.
Yeah, you're returning 6 scholarship players, I think, for Texas, and 2 of them that actually have playing time, and Kendall Weaver and Caden Shedrick. Yeah. But that's basically your 2 guys that you have that had any playing time last season. And then you're just having to bolster that roster. You've got 4 recruits in so far. Or 4 transfers in so far. Actually, you had 4 players returning. Sorry, I got that too much. 4 players returning, 2 freshmen coming in, 4 transfers. That puts you at 10 scholarships right now. You have 3 left, and that's where you're looking at. You've had 2 offers out to Brandon Garrison and Reedus Petritis. But yeah, you 2 players have played, and then Devin Pryor, and I'm not thinking of the last name right now off the top of my head. But you basically Kendall Weaver, Caden Shedrick, Devin Pryor, and 1 more that I for whatever reason.
Wow.
But yeah,
no, it's amazing. Yeah, basically between big time recruits you bring in that are one and done that basically just want to go to the NBA and they're high level prospects, and then guys you're bringing in via the transfer portal. Hell, at least half your team is going to look different year after year.
Yeah,
at least half.
No, and and you look at this Texas team too in the front court right now. Nick Cody is another one of the freshmen coming in. I know he's dealt with some injuries this season, so we'll see how he comes in and at what level he's at. But it wouldn't surprise me if they played him a little bit early too, to see if he was somebody that could crack the rotation, depending on who else they bring in. But yeah, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a big North Carolina fan, and it's like, we have like one player, maybe 2 that are coming back next season who played. Yeah, it's just across the league now. Between transfers, the NBA draft, and you're also now at the end of those COVID years, really. So, even though you had a couple guys that stayed around, you're kind of at the end of that cycle of the Brock Cunninghams and all those guys that stayed around for a long time.
Yeah, great point.
So you're trying to renew and build up that way. But, even Texas had guys that went through the years that you can't hold on to. And as much as you love to, if a young player like Chris Johnson is a perfect example of a young guy who realized, I'm not going to get playing time at Texas to get better. And in basketball, one of the only ways you're really, really going to get a lot better is playing time. And so he goes to Stephen F. Austin, where he's going to play 35, 40 minutes a game.
That's the beauty of college basketball, though. You can go to mid-major and it's still, you still compete. You can still compete.
Well, and this is the reality is he goes there and is one of the best players in the conference. Yeah. He can transfer back out. That's why that multiple transfer thing is these players are coming to major schools, seeing if they can compete, finding what level they're at. And I know it's annoying for fans of the big schools because you'd like to be able to develop those guys and basically get 1 year out of them. Mm-hmm. But for the kids to realize, your dream is to try and go to that next level, and they want to play and get better. And if they, with the transfer portal existing, so you're bringing guys in, they may never even get a shot on the court. You're just basically scrimmaging in practice. He gets to go to Stephen F. Austin, and then if he has a really good year next year, he can transfer back, try and make a case for himself to go to the NBA. It works out really well.
Now they changed it again. Remember, they changed transfer portal rule again. Now you can transfer as much as you want without penalty as long as you meet the academic requirements. So to your point, that's probably the best course of action. If you don't see a path to play in any sport, just go somewhere where you can play and then ball out. Where you got to bet on yourself, ball
Yeah.
out, and then you can transfer somewhere else
But even if
to
you
another high level program.
and even if you
Or you can
don't,
stay there if you want to. You can stay
yeah,
there and ball out.
and and even if you're not balling out and you just say, well, I'm playing though, I'm part of a team and we're playing and I'm not just a practice guy. That's a big for some people.
Or gal. I mean, that's all the sports now. I think that your theory applies to all the sports now. It's like, man, if you're not, and that's what's gonna make it tougher to hold on to good players. And this is what we talk about with Sark too. You know, how can you promote that patience for guys to sit and wait their turn, cultivate their craft, and then, you know, when it's their turn, when they have that opportunity to maximize it and make the most of it. The Texas running back room has kind of figured it out how to do that, but that's hard to do in any position group in any sport these days because of what you're talking about. And now with the transfer rules, they almost incentivize you. If you're not playing, transfer
And I mean, and I know,
and go find an opportunity where you can play.
And I know in any sport it's better to play than not. But if you're talking about baseball, you can go to the batting cages, you can simulate games, you can, scrimmage or whatever else. And as long as it'll help you get a little bit better. You need to be able to see pitches. But it's not necessarily in basketball. If you're not playing, you don't get a feel for the game and you don't play against top defenders, then you're never going to be able to, work on your driving and work on your moves and all those things. You have to play. So you have to go to the parks and scrimmage, which a lot of college coaches are probably not thrilled if you're going out and constantly trying to put yourself at risk of injury. So it's just difficult for a lot of these young guys to get the playing time. And I get why they transfer. But for Texas, it's a good thing because they're getting some really good players in the transfer portal too.
Texas, you'll benefit from it. But I'm just saying, the entire kind of culture now of college basketball, man, you get a lot of change. I mean, what did Coach K say when he got the job at Arkansas? I want to talk to the team. There is no team.
There is no team.
There is no team. Got to rebuild this damn thing every year. All right, good stuff there. Austin Jordan is the latest Texas football transfer portal departure, which would put the number now for Texas at 8, I believe, at 8 transfer portal departures. And the reports from our friends over at On Texas Football and some other reports too is that you'll get more than that. You'll get maybe even 2 more. You'll get to double digits potentially. That is the projection. And so we're not talking about we're not talking about some exodus. We're talking about a trickle of attrition. But at the defensive back position, you probably lost the most impactful of those departures. Samaje Burrell was first, then Peyton Kirkland, then Billy Walton, Zach Swanson, Jamon Tapp. Even Savion Red, and Austin Jordan too. I mean, those are not necessarily starters for you. Terrence Brooks was the starter. Savion Red was a guy that did have a role for you on the team. And Austin Jordan was pretty much just a special teams contributor, but he was a veteran in the defensive backfield. So now think about the defensive backfield, guys. We just talk about wholesale changes, a lot of turnover for college basketball. You lost Ryan Watts, who was a starter for you at corner. Jaron Thompson, who's a starter at safety, is gone at the transfer portal. Terrence Brooks, who's a starter at the other corner, he's gone now in the transfer portal. You lost Keaton Crawford, who was a contributor in that secondary, one of your rotational players. You lost Austin Jordan, not a rotational player for you, but just a guy that added depth. Probably was 3rd on the depth chart, somewhere around there. But you lost
Jalen Catalon as well.
You lost Jalen Catalon. Thank you. A great point. A guy that had some starts for you. That's what I'm saying. So you lost a lot of guys. Now, some people would say, man, look how bad the defense was. So you lost a lot of guys. Bad the secondary, the pass defense was. Maybe you lost a lot of guys. So it'll be addition by subtraction. It's easy to say that, but I don't necessarily believe that's going to be the case for the secondary. I think they definitely need to go out and get some more bodies in the secondary. They need to figure out the cornerback position opposite Jadae Barron. Right now, the most likely of the transfer portal prospects is Takario Davis. Now, if they get Takario Davis, that'd be great. He is the Arizona corner. He's about 6'3", 6'3 and a half, somewhere around there. Big, long, rangy corner. Led the Pac-12 in PBUs and passes defended last year. Is a guy that knows that Johnny Nansen system really well. They're going to run some of those concepts. Johnny Nansen can vet him because he was a player under Johnny Nansen when he was the DC there at Arizona last year. So he is the one you have the most connection with, and he'd be the best. I think the best acquisition you could get via the transfer portal at corner right now. Anthony Johnson is another young man via On Texas Football. My friend Jerry Hamilton says out of Western Kentucky, the Texas it could also be looking at as well. Right now, I don't know how many other prospects they could be looking at corner. They do need to bring in some reinforcements, and they need to figure out, like I said, the cornerback position opposite of Malik Muhammad. Maybe that's Gavin Holmes, but Terrence Brooks and Gavin Holmes at least provided you with more stability. Now I'm not sure you have that. So there's some concern. I have concerns about the secondary. I do. I think the hope that it would be a strength this year, that may be a bit of a stretch. I don't know if they can be considered a strength. I don't know if I would project them as a strength this year. My hope is that they're just not a weakness, that they're not what they were last year when they were 109th in the country in pass defense. And the problem is they've actually gotten worse in terms of pass defense every year that Sark has been here. Like, we haven't seen the secondary take a step forward. So this is a big year for the secondary. Big year for Coach Joseph. Big year for Coach Gideon as well. I like both of those guys, but I'll admit we haven't seen the improvement by the guys in the secondary and the secondary as a whole since Sark has been on campus.
Yeah, I mean, and I, glass half full version of this is, hopefully this means that it's going to force you to go out in that transfer portal and see if you can go get some DBs that maybe fit and maybe have a little bit of experience that can come in and play for you and will be contributors this season and help out, shore up that secondary. That's your glass half full, but that means you also have to go out and get that done, which is not a guarantee either. What you really love is to be able to shore it up by pulling in one more guy and still having a Terrence Brooks and still having your guys in your depth there. But it's I don't think any team we've seen, championship teams have holes on their team, on their roster before. We've seen it with, teams where you have a down year at one position and you have to go figure it out. And Texas, everyone knows that the DB room has not been the strongest point for the last few years in the safety and the secondary. It just is what it is. Hopefully this is a point where they're able to bond together. Jahdae Barron has a really good season. That's what I think we're all hoping for. Malik Muhammad takes that step forward. I think we've seen that he can do some pretty special things. And then it kind of goes downhill from there. I mean, Derek Williams is going to be a good player for you.
He is going to be a good player. That's the thing about it. They got good players back there.
They have good players, but it's so much of it's a unit that if there's one weakness, people can attack it all day long. And that's where you really just hope that you're able to get enough pieces in there to get the depth. Because again, that rotation, either you're playing guys a lot and they're getting tired out there by the fourth quarter running routes, or you're rotating and they don't have the depth. It's a little scary, but we'll see with this transfer portal still open for another week or so, I believe. That if you can go out there and win a couple battles, they got to rent a couple more Lambos, get some DBs in here.
Yeah, no doubt. It's great. You got to rent some Lambos. But no, I'm worried about the depth at the defensive back position. We'll get into some of this when we go behind the burnt orange curtain a little bit. But they need to have a contingency plan in case they don't get the guys they want in the transfer portal. And part of that contingency plan is working with the pieces you have. And that's why I'm glad that they have cross-trained a lot of guys and they're promoting versatility, because you're going to need it in terms of configuring different lineups of guys to try to give you the best five on the field or the best guys to end up rotating. Makuba can play nickel and safety and for you. Jahdae Barron can play nickel and corner for you. You're gonna have to use those pieces. I think you might have to move move Jahdae Barron out to corner if you like Jalen Gilbo and what he's done at the nickel. And they're cross-training him at nickel and corner. So if you like Jalen Gilbo at nickel, at least you got a chance to look at him in the spring. You got a good sample size. Move Jahdae Barron out to corner. That solidifies and stabilizes that corner position. You got Malik Muhammad at the other one. You got Jalen Gilbo at the nickel. You'd have Makuba at one safety, Derek Williams at the other safety, and then maybe that's your best five to put out there now that Terrence Brooks is gone. or if you really like Gavin Holmes, I don't think there's a huge difference between a Gavin Holmes and a Terrence Brooks. There should have been. I think that's part of the problem. The coaches didn't believe there should have been a cornerback competition between Gavin Holmes and between Terrence Brooks. The fact that that was a problem because Terrence Brooks had already been in the system, had been a starter for 13 out of the 14 games last year. Coming into the spring, your third year, you're supposed to be ready to separate and elevate from the rest of the roster and ascend to becoming a guy that they're talking about as an NFL draft pick. And that wasn't happening. And I don't know if I'm not saying he was regressing, but the fact that Gavin Holmes was closing that gap, good for Gavin Holmes. But I think he was closing the gap more because we did not see Terrence Brooks take the next step.
Yeah.
And I think that because he's pretty much, I don't know, got complacent. I'm not sure. Maybe I know he gained some weight, and I thought that was on purpose because I thought he wanted to get bigger. But maybe that wasn't the case. He's not a guy that's, relies on his speed anyway. So the fact that Gavin Holmes closed that gap, end up starting the spring game, that shouldn't have been the case. And I think for Terrence Brooks, maybe that was part of the frustration too, that now he was considered a co-starter. But either way, the reality is he's out. And I think you got to come up with solutions now for that secondary and transfer portal first. But then after that, you need to reconfigure these lineups to try to give yourself the best possible starting five, and then think about rotations of guys. And I got an idea about that. We'll get into we go behind the burn orange curtain coming up next segment. So
nice.
Yeah. All right. We'll do that. We'll talk about the secondary, unfortunately, because it's kind of a downer, but we won't spend too much time. It's a downer, but I'll give you solutions. We're talking solutions. We're not talking about the problem. We're talking about the solution for the Longhorns. So we'll get into that a little bit when we go behind the burn orange curtain and give you some more of my impressions of my notes and my charts from the Texas spring game. We'll talk about that. We'll also get into some NFL draft discussion because the hope is that you will have 3 Longhorns taken in the first round of the NFL draft, which is tonight. That will be the first time since 1980. Been a long time since Texas was that well represented in the first round. We'll discuss that and more coming back on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I want to get into some Texas football discussion. We talked about the defensive backfield, which I think right now, depending on how Texas does in the transfer portal, trying to acquire some defensive backs, depending on how they do, also as well, they're trying to acquire another defensive tackle too. They already got Bill Norton, they got Sevilla. I think by the end of the transfer portal window, I think it closes April 30th. You could feel better about the Texas interior D line than you do about the Texas defensive backfield, depending on how you saw and your perspective on the spring game. But I went back and looked at the spring game just to look at some of the coverage busts and everything that went down. And unfortunately, the problem with the secondary is a multifactorial one. If you're just looking at the technique and the fundamentals that failed them in the spring game, and you're looking at the coverage breakdowns that they had in the spring game, there are a couple of concepts that Texas has struggled with. They struggled with last season, and they struggled with in 2022 as well. And I don't know if schematically it is just these are concepts that PK's defense has a hard time defending because of the way the structure of the defense and the way that it is built, or if the coaching of the players has not really helped them to be able to master these concepts, or giving them the tools they need to better defend these concepts. Right. So let's start with, take inside breaking routes. Just simple inside breaking routes, whatever you're talking about, your slants, your post routes, your glance routes, your skinny posts, your in cuts, anything that's considered an inside, your six routes, anything that ends up breaking inside. Last season, Texas was terrible at defending inside cuts. They were, if you go look at the inside breaking routes, if you go look at on money downs, which is what I paid attention to, right? On money downs, that's third and fourth down. When teams targeted an inside breaking route on money downs, they converted 53%. And this is when I did Power 5 starting quarterbacks targeting inside breaking routes last season on money downs. Their conversion rate was 53%. I mean, that's a really high number. And in the spring game, you go look at inside breaking routes for Texas, defending them, any of them. The completion rate was relatively low, but man, over almost 10 yards per attempt, basically 10 yards per attempt, targeting inside breaking routes. I looked at the first down touchdown rate of inside breaking routes in the spring game. 52% of the time they targeted an inside breaking route, it was a first down or a touchdown. Money down conversion rate of inside breaking routes in the spring game, 77%. Explosive play rate of inside breaking routes, targeting inside breaking routes in the spring game, almost 29%. It's the same issues that they had last season, and that's leverage. It's not having the proper leverage. If you're going to play man coverage, you should be inside leverage. Even if you're playing some zone coverage, unless it's a reduced split or it's a compressed set or a condensed set formation, you still should be leaning toward inside leverage, especially on the wide side of the field. Hell, and even sometimes, I would say even more sometimes in the boundary side, because you want to use the sideline as another defender. They don't do that. They didn't do it last year. They don't do it again. Now, they were asked about leverage last season, and they said leverage is determined by the coverage and not necessarily the technique that the players can deploy themselves. But it doesn't make sense to still be head up or outside leverage when you either don't have inside help or your inside help is not there. And I saw it in the spring game multiple times too. Even Gavin Holmes, the touchdown he got beat on for the 75-yarder, he was head up to outside leverage, even though he was in the boundary and the players from the numbers. Get inside, use the sideline as another defender. So it's simple stuff that was the same stuff that affected them last year, came to fruition in the spring game. They didn't have a lot of bunch formations because Sark didn't do a lot of sophisticated stuff formationally. But the first touchdown they gave up to Arch Manning, the 75-yard touchdown to DeAndre Moore, it was tight twins, closely clustered groups of receivers. last season when they had to defend closely clustered groups of receivers, and they did it again. By the way, the game-winning touchdown that Trey Owens threw to Ryan Wingo. Now these are young guys, but my point is, are they being taught the proper technique and the proper fundamentals, or is the system something that has a vulnerability to these things? When you look at targets to bunch formation last season for Texas overall, like I said, closely clustered groups of receivers, you're looking at, and on money downs is kind of what I was looking at, 72% conversion rate last season on money downs. But if you just look at overall targets to bunch, 79% completion rate, over 11 yards per attempt last season. And like I said, that was something that they struggled with in the spring game. Another concept that Texas used. Didn't use a lot of it, but they used it, and Texas DB struggled passing off receivers in coverage. And I mean, they also struggled versus empty formation last year. We won't get into that. Texas didn't run a lot of empty. They ran like 6 plays of it. I think they'll run more of it, but Texas is susceptible to that too. So what I'm trying to figure out, and I will dive deeper into it, is this a vulnerability within the structure of the defense? Because now I've seen it persist for like 2 going on 3 years, or is this something that is being taught, or something that isn't being taught? Are they being taught the wrong fundamentals and techniques as players, and that's why you're getting, like I said, the same issues that are persisting in the secondary, and that's the reason why they're not a sound secondary. As we pointed out, Patrick, they got talent, but the sum of its parts doesn't add up. The talent is there, but they don't play well as a unit.
Is there a possibility that could be part of too, that they're just not necessarily technically, but unprepared mentally of understanding exactly all the concepts that may be coming at them, fully knowing the film on each receiver that they're going to be going up against, and fighting battles without all the information, where it's just you're setting yourself up to lose if you're not doing enough prep and not enough, research on each team. Is that a part of it too, or could be?
You think they know their own team in the spring game? You think they know these guys really well? But it looked like they had never seen some of these players or some of those concepts. So yeah, I mean, and in the spring game, I didn't even bring this up, but they haven't been able to defend the deep ball in a couple of years. They've had issues just defending the deep ball. We know it came to fruition in the obviously in the Sugar Bowl. Was a big issue, and I believe Michael Penix was 6 of 8 on passes 20 yards or more down the field. Some crazy, ridiculous number. Yeah, he was 6 of 8 on passes 20 yards or more down the field. And in this spring game, I went back and looked at the deep balls. I believe if you count the double pass, Texas allowed 5 of 11 deep balls to be completed, 20 yards or more down the field. That's a high number. That's a I mean, you're talking about 45%, something like that. That's a pretty high number of deep balls to be completed. So that's something that happened last year. They came back down them, and when I went back and tracked it, Texas last season against starting quarterbacks. Remember, they played a lot of backup quarterbacks last season too. But when they played starting quarterbacks, Power 5 starting quarterbacks, teams completed 42% of their passes 20 yards or more down the field. And they completed 45% in the spring game. So the only problem with, the spring game to me was that there were not a lot of contested catches. And for me, somebody who looks very closely at it, the same issues that they had last season were the exact same issues they had in the spring game. Deep ball, can't pass off receivers, in zone coverage really well. Their eyes are in the bad place, bad angles to the football, and the same concepts, whether you're talking about closely clustered groups of receivers, inside breaking routes and inside leverage, defending the deep ball. They were the same issues that came up in the spring game, and they did not fix. So yes, they need help in terms of personnel. They need to add more corners and more defensive backs, but they also need help with certain concepts. Because if I'm going up against Texas, I know exactly how to beat the secondary.
Yeah,
and it's not. It trust me, I'm not giving away secrets here, guys. It's on film. It's pretty easy. It's out there and it's on film. One thing that I would suggest though, And I think you can learn this from. I think you can study basketball, and maybe you can go talk to Vic Schaefer and learn more about this. I think Texas needs to figure out how, instead of they like to rotate guys, and they're going to rotate players in the secondary. But with now the challenges you have in the secondary, you have good players, but you really don't have depth. I think they need to learn. But you do have versatile defenders. You got guys who you've been cross training at different positions, so they give you options. In basketball, it does it really well. There's just different lineups based on matchups with different skill sets that you can use that will, I think, give you a better chance at success rather than doing wholesale rotations, having your starters and then the rotational guys right behind them and rotating. Because I think that makes you easier to expose. I think it makes you easier to expose because I think, opposing offensive coordinators can just wait for the wholesale rotation and attack those guys with their more favorable plays. I think you should do more mixing and matching. I said, like, study basketball lineups. Ask Vic Schaefer, ask Ronnie Terry about it. You can study, and I've been noticing this more. You can study other sports to really help you get an advantage in your own. And I've been hearing this actually more and more too coming out. Danny Hurley recently said that he studied college football and he studied the Shanahan offense to figure out how to bring more complexity to his offense in a simplistic form. Basically showing you the same look every time, but having multiple possibilities and multiple options out of that one look. It's like Shanahan. He'll have 15 plays out of the same damn formation, and you never know what's coming. Listen to Danny Hurley talk about this.
So I think the inspiration the last 2 years, especially this year, is like watching college football now, or Shanahan from the NFL, how they'll have these formations, obviously the pace and the tempo of their cuts and their actions, but like how they'll have trips out of shotgun, with two in the backfield, and out of that formation, there's like 7 or 8 different things they do out of it, right? There's like a sweep, a play action, a deep post, right? All these different things. So I think going into this year, me and Luke Murray, we got together and we're like, we want to have 10 different formations, all right? Whether it's, a floppy, a regular horns with the 4 and 5 high, an inverted horns, a low 1-4, a box set. We want to have 8 to 10 different, different formations that we would have, all these different wrinkles for, right? Something for a shooter, whether it's like a, wide pin or flare rescreen, or, a jets for us, which are staggers. So out of every formation, we want to have something for a shooter, something that's going to finish with some type of a ball screen action, something with a deep post up, something to open up an ISO for somebody to drive it. We want to have, so out of each formation, anytime we run it, the defense is going to have no idea whether it's a post up, something for a shooter, or whatever it is. So.
Yeah, see, he's talking about college football and obviously the Shanahan scheme being inspirations for him. And we heard LeBron talk about how Eric Spoelstra was also inspired by college football when he was looking for a way to create more spacing and create more ways to maximize space on the floor. Remember LeBron James telling JJ Redick this story?
I'm going to tell you when it all changed. Obviously, my first year there, played great basketball, got all the way to the finals, losing the finals. Spo is the reason why we were a better team and our team was more assembled properly. That summer, he went to Oregon and hung out with Chip Kelly.
Oh, interesting.
He when we lost to Dallas, he went to Oregon and hung out with Chip Kelly and learned the spread offense and tried to figure out if he could translate that to basketball.
Yeah. And there are so many stories now that I'm hearing about coaches, elite coaches studying other sports to help give them insight and an advantage in their own. There's a book actually that Steve Kerr swears by, and so do Pete Carroll. and it's actually a tennis book. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. I BS you not. It's both of their favorite books. They're on the record for saying it's their favorite books, and they swear by it. And they claim that they built their culture of their specific teams. Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors and Pete Carroll with the Seattle Seahawks championship models from this book called The Inner Game of Tennis. I BS you not. It's actually by, I'll give you the author, Timothy Galloway. He was like a Harvard tennis coach or something back in the day. Coaches swear by it. They love it. It made its way all across the NFL and the NBA. My point being, you can study other sports to give you insight into your own. I do believe PK and the defense staff, they should go study basketball lineups and go study and go ask basketball coaches about lineups and configurations. Because I think one of the things they're missing in the secondary with these wholesale rotations of frontline guys and starters, that you could have more effective lineups with different configurations, mixing and matching players of versatility rather than just rotating your first and second guys. I think there's something there, and I think Texas needs to explore it, because right now you don't have the depth. Just be rotating wholesale changes. You don't. You need to be mixing and matching more.
Yeah.
A lot of that. All right, there you go. My random rant. I guess that was Raj rant and behind the brown screen. All right, we come back. We got the big fat poll today on the other side, and we'll learn what the musically themed day of the week is. All that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. Let's talk about Callahan's General Store, because they've come to the rescue, come to my yard's rescue, actually, because my yard was doing pretty bad. Had a lot of weeds, had a lot of brown patches. I wanted to get it back to a golf course condition, get it to looking fresh and healthy. I wanted the Lawn of the Month award, even though it's not a real award. I still wanted it. I wanted that pride that you have when people envy the kind of yard that you have, and Callahan's can help you with that. They have everything that you need. Pre-emergence to initially start killing those ugly weeds, that crabgrass and that dandelion. Then you get the weed feed that's to help the grass, but also to start to kill the rest of those weeds in your yard. And once you get mostly healthy grass and you killed most of those weeds, that's when you start putting down the grass seed. They have that at Callahan's General Store. That's when you start putting down the fertilizer. That's when you start putting down the amendments. And they have all of that at Callahan's General Store. They also have the know-how, the expertise to help you no matter what your lawn care needs are. All of your needs can be fulfilled, can be satisfied there at Callahan's General Store. And also, if you're someone who has that green thumb, you're starting to plant those seedling vegetables in the gardens, you can also get all of those at Callahan's General Store. They got plenty of melons and peppers and tomatoes and other plants for you. They also have trees, fruit trees, pecan trees, and you can plant those around the property, enjoy them for generations to come. You know where it is, 501 Bastrop Highway between downtown and airport. Every day is a great day to make it a Callahan's Day.
Back on the Rodcast on a Thursday morning, and that is a new theme Thursday where I'll pick a theme each week and play music that fits into that theme. The theme this week is the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. They were announced earlier this week, so we'll be playing inductees in the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class,
Nice.
which I'm sure will annoy plenty of people that I believe there's 4 rock bands in it. And then 4 not rock bands. I believe it may be 3 rock bands. I think it's 4, but it's 3 or 4 rock bands, and then a bunch of others. So we'll play, and you can
Nice.
get mad or not of these people going in. But Peter Frampton, one of the people going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2024. So
It's a nice theme. I like that. That's good stuff.
Let's get to Big Fat Poll today. Text lines open 512-447-3776.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the Day on the Horn.
All right, Big Fat Poll of the day today with the draft tonight. There's been a lot of rumors about teams trying to trade up to get a quarterback. A lot of every mock draft now has usually somebody, if they allow trades in their mock draft, somebody trading up to get a quarterback. That begs the question, who trades up to get a quarterback first? Do the Vikings go after a quarterback? The Broncos? The Raiders? The Giants? Does no one trade up to go for a quarterback?
Oh, somebody's trading up to go for a
I figure someone is, but you can put your votes out there. Who do you think trades up first? Does someone give the Patriots a package? Is it someone trade all the way up to number 3 and go with that, or do they go number 4 in Arizona and they say it's okay? I've seen certain mock drafts that have Drake May dropping out and JJ McCarthy going number 3. So there's all sorts of things that can happen. But what team do you think is the most desperate? They go out, they say, we need our quarterback. We're willing to give up whatever it takes to go get him. Who trades up to get a quarterback first? Because there could be all 3 teams could do it.
Oh, yeah. You could get, like I said, it could get wild because there are rumors now, and I saw another report that Michael Penix could go in the first round, and it wasn't. I mean, last one came from Adam Schefter. I'll give you who. I remember Diana Rossini says that NFL GMs believe that he might be the best kept secret in the NFL draft. Michael Penix, just because some teams are out of him or he's off their board because of the injury. So right now I'm hearing a lot about, and it could just be his agent putting that buzz out there. I'm just hearing a lot of buzz about potentially Michael Penix. Oh yeah, here it is. Dan Graziano of ESPN. He's the latest to say the Giants like Michael Penix Jr., possibly enough to take him as high as number 6 overall.
If you have
teams desperate for a quarterback.
Well, and the reality is, if you take Penix 6 and you say there's a trade up for 4, that means out of the top 6 picks, there will be 1 non-quarterback. That is
what, and the other one will be a wide receiver.
You figure it'd be a wide receiver, yeah. You figure Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, dude. And then no, I'm telling you, they're right now. They believe, or at least I believe. I think it's a discussion that they're going to set a record this year for a number of offensive players taken in this NFL draft. The record, I believe, is 19.
It's got to be.
I think it's going to be 20.
Because I think 20. We know, and now the only other option is people start to see the players that are available. And that's what hurts guys like Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell is if you start to get into that 20s and teams like the Chiefs and the Bills and all these guys look and see and they go, well, I'll still be able to get a wide receiver in the second round. And I can go out and get a top edge or a top D lineman, or I can get a top DB, or I can get one of the top guys, top defenders. He's my number 1 defender in the draft, and he's available at 22.
Yeah.
Like you could see somebody, so that's the only reason is if you don't, is if because just people are so ranked so much higher in their best available that they go ahead and just take the defensive player and say, well, if none of us take the wide receivers, they're still going to be there. And there's still good wide receivers. It depends where you rank them all, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for it tonight. But that's the poll of the day. Who trades up to get a quarterback first in the draft? 512-447-3776.
Whose quarterback room is the worst out of that group we're talking about?
Honestly, it's the Broncos.
You still got Daniel. You still got Daniel Jones with the Giants, so they still got at least a guy there. The Raiders have They
Aiden
got
O'Connell, but they have Gardner
O'Connell,
Minshew on that
Gardner
team.
Minshew, right?
So they have someone who
they
can
still at
carry him
least
through
have
a
someone who
year.
can start. Yeah, who can
Yeah.
start for him.
Now remember though, you have Devontae
Minnesota's
Adams
got-
on the Raiders too, so they have a wide
Yeah.
receiver they don't want to piss off completely.
I know, but at least they got a guy.
Yeah.
Like the Minnesota Vikings don't even have a guy, do they?
No,
They
the
don't have a
Minnesota
guy.
Sam Darnold.
Exactly. They don't
Sam
have a guy.
Darnold is your guy, and
At least you
then
have I think you at least have a guy that you believe it can start a few games for you. I don't think Sam Darnold can start more than half the season for you,
no,
unless you're tanking.
which
Maybe you're tanking.
but they have Justin Jefferson.
maybe they are. I don't know, but no, you're right. That's a good question. I know somebody's gonna do it. We just don't know who. Somebody's gonna do it. It may be more than one
and the
team, like you
Broncos,
said.
yeah, it's Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson, and Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, it's Denver and Minnesota are my two.
Yeah, those are the
Denver
worst.
and Minnesota
I think the
are my
Raiders
two.
can piece it together for a season enough, and then try and go
Yeah.
next year when there won't be the draft class is not as strong at quarterback, but you can also probably get one of the top guys.
Yeah,
and maybe get a better guy there. But yeah, I don't know. I would say it's the Vikings or the Broncos would be my guess. The Giants also are on that board though because they have the 6th pick. It's probably easier for them to trade up.
Yeah,
because someone may only want to move down a few spots.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah, the quarterbacks could be crazy this year. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk NFL on the other side. There's some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. I think there's a contract extension that will affect the Dallas Cowboys and their contract negotiations. We'll get into some of those mock drafts. There are tons of them out now. We'll hit as many of them as we can. All of that and more NFL heavy coming up next segment right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Low and Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Mm-mm-mm. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. He is the Idealionaire. The Idealionaire comes up with our musically themed days of the week, but also does a ton of other stuff on the show. But the musically themed day of the week today is a new theme Thursday. And on a new theme Thursday, he's actually paying tribute to bands headed to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, the
Is that right? So the
2024
Rock
Rock and Roll Hall of
Yes.
Fame class
All right.
was
There you go.
announced earlier this week. So we're throwing those out there.
Nice. I like
And
it.
3
Yeah.
rock bands. 3 out of 8 are rock bands.
3 out of 8 are rock bands. You said, so are the other ones? What kind of bands we talking about?
So we'll play a few of them, but
This is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, correct?
yes, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But now they
3.
let in. Now it's all encompassing. Right?
It is much more all encompassing now. But so now I guess they're making up for lost time of not putting in rock bands, because there's still rock bands that should be in that are not in.
And they started letting in other types of,
and they're letting in other bands. And you're like, but this band's bigger than that band is in their field. So I don't get why they're in this. I don't get it. But
no, I'm with you. Yeah, they opened that door. That was a Pandora's box. It's like, oh man, now you just now you got to recognize all bands.
Yeah.
And all
so
genres.
I went with Ozzy, who's kind of the headliner of rock that's in this class, and then we'll play the rest, and you can judge for yourself if you feel they deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Have you been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No.
Before?
Why would I come?
I'm just asking. You've done a lot of weird, strange, things.
I know.
So
I never thought.
It's not strange, but it's saying you've done some things that I didn't expect.
No, that's true. But I've never been
You're
to
a music guy.
I've never been to Ohio in general.
You've never been to Ohio.
I've never been to the state of Ohio, so
you stay away from the Midwest. There, you just.
I've never been. There's never been a reason. I've not traveled enough in my life to cross off enough places to where Ohio seems like the place I'd want to go.
I feel you on that. No, you're right. It's a good point. That's fair. That's fair. I don't know if I would have been there either if not for the NFL. So I'm with you.
Yeah,
it's a great point.
It's a place that you'd be like, eventually, if you're like, no, I've been to 38 states, then maybe that's 39. But I have not traveled enough in my life to that.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I had a purpose when I went there. It was not just traveling to Ohio, very scenic Ohio, something like that. Yeah, good point. There you go. My man Patrick, always hooking you up. Musically themed day of the week today on a new theme Thursday, a dedication to the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class for it's 2024, right? Is it 2024?
Yes, 2024. Yes.
Okay. All right, there you go. So we'll also get into the big fat poll of the day. I'll get back to it. Patrick, let the people know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Who trades up to get a quarterback first in the NFL draft? We pretty much know somebody is going to trade up. It could be as early as 3. Number 4 has been talked about a lot, but someone trying to get ahead of the Giants for their pick, or get ahead of the Raiders, or get ahead of the Vikings, get ahead of somebody. The Vikings made the trade for the Texans, so they have 2 first-rounders. So they have a little ammunition to go up and get somebody. The Giants are only at pick 6, so moving up to 4 seems more possible. They want to jump ahead of the line and not let somebody else get a guy they really want. The Raiders, we know, have Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. They want to get somebody. If they feel that they really need to go up and get somebody, they have draft capital. They go after it. Broncos don't have much draft capital. Broncos don't have much players. Broncos don't have a lot of anything, but they don't have a quarterback either, so they may try and do it as well.
All right, there you go. Big fat poll of the day. Go check it out. Text line 512-447-3776. We'll get your horn headlines here momentarily, and then we'll get to these NFL stories. It could be a reunion brewing for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see if Cowboys fans are excited about that. Also, Amon-Ra St. Brown signs a new deal, an extension with the Detroit Lions. He's an all-pro receiver. What does that mean for CeeDee Lamb and the Dallas Cowboys? Because that now affects the wide receiver market, and there's some people to believe that now he is in the upper echelon. 28. I've heard different figures. Spot Trek has him at 30 million for this year, and the numbers that came out at Pro Football Talk were 27.5 million base salary, and I've seen 28 million base salary. So the numbers I will admit, have varied in terms of what I've seen about the Amon-Ra St. Brown contract, but it definitely puts him among the top three highest paid wide receivers in the game. I'm sure that's where CeeDee Lamb wants to also be in that conversation, if not the conversation as the highest paid receiver in the game. So we'll get to that. We'll also get to all these mock drafts. Next segment, kind of set aside an entire segment for mock drafts because there are a ton of them out. Peter Schrager's mock draft is out. Lance Zierlein last mock draft is out. We'll get to that. The last one for Bucky Brooks is out. You got the last one for Jordan Reed. It's a 7-round mock draft that's out. There's a Field Yates mock draft, the Matt Miller latest mock draft. I'm a mock slut, as y'all know. But the last mock drafts are great because a lot of these guys are piecemealing information they're getting, and some of them are getting the same information from some of the same sources.
Yeah.
And we'll see how reliable those sources are. So we'll just kind of gauge where they have the Longhorns. Also, getting back to my man Patrick's big fat poll today, where they have these quarterbacks going. How many quarterbacks do they have going in the first round? We'll get back to that conversation and talk tons of NFL draft day today. So a very special day. All right, let's get to the Horn headlines first. And then we'll come back and jump into some Cowboys discussion, and it'll lead us to some draft discussion. Also in Rod's rant, it'll be a quick one. I'll give you a Texans nugget about them in the draft, and I'll give you a report about the Dallas Cowboys and what they're going to do in the draft. We'll do that quickly, and then we'll get back to some of these mock drafts. So let's get first to the Horn headlines with my man Patrick Davis.
All right, Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball will take on Nichols tonight in a matchup where sophomore catcher Reese Atwood will look to set the single-season RBI record for the Longhorns. Atwood tied the mark in the series last weekend. Texas, who is still currently the #1 ranked team in the country, will push to keep their 9-game win streak alive and ranking alive with only 7 games left to go in the regular season. Texas basketball secured the commitment of transfer guard Jordan Pope yesterday. Pope, who averaged 17.6 points and 3.4 assists a game while shooting 37% from 3 last season for Oregon State. Pope, who has 2 years of eligibility left, joins Tremont Mark, Julian Larry, and Jason Kent as transfers added so far by the Longhorns. Texas is still waiting for decisions from center Brandon Garrison and forward Reedus Petritus. And in the NBA, the Heat took a game in Boston to even the series 1-1 behind an epic shooting night, making 23 three-pointers to pick up a 111-101 win over the Celtics. And the Thunder looked much more like the #1 seed in the West with a dominant 124-92 win over the Pelicans. Tonight, three teams look to avoid going down 3-0 and return to their home courts, with the Magic hosting the Cavs, the Knicks heading to Philadelphia, and the Lakers facing the Nuggets. In Major League Baseball, the Astros once again allowed a big first-inning lead that they could not overcome. The Cubs put up 4 runs in the first, and Jose Altuve's 9th-inning home run was not enough, with the Astros falling 4-3. And the Rangers took the lead after getting back-to-back home runs from Garcia and Carter, and never looked back as they defeated the Mariners 5-1. The Rangers are back in action early today, with pregame starting at 1 p.m. right here on the Horn, and that's your Horn headlines.
Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Let's get to these NFL headlines. Obviously, a couple actually have to do with the Dallas Cowboys. The first one is the report that Ezekiel Elliott is indeed a real option for the Dallas Cowboys. Been reported by ESPN. Josina Anderson also reported this. I saw David Moore report this as well. That the Cowboys are meeting with Ezekiel Elliott. His representation. Ezekiel Elliott's representative, according to CBS Sports. And ESPN previously reported there is mutual interest between a potential reunion between Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys. Hell, I believe last year he was still like on the books technically for the Dallas
He's
Cowboys.
still on the books this year, I believe.
He's still on the books again.
I think he's still making $6 million he's on the books for $6 million this year on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I know they were paying last year. Yeah, so I mean, so bringing him back actually makes a lot of sense if it's at the right price, and I'm sure that he's willing to give the Cowboys a bit of a hometown discount. You do need someone who's good in short yardage. He's a really good pass protector. So and you need running backs, by the way. You need running backs. So depending on the price tag, like I said, you're already paying. As Patrick mentioned, you're already paying a little bit for, and this is like, the Cowboys, kind of this reunion for the Cowboys. They still need to draft the running back, but for them, this may work out actually for logistical purposes. The fact that they need somebody who can be a short yardage goal line back for you. That's what he does really well now. That's not what he's relegated to, but he also is a decent receiver out of the backfield, but can be a pass protector for you. Yeah, depending on the price tag, I'm in for the Cowboys bringing in Zeke.
I'm not, and I'll tell you why. But this is the thing, and I get the price should be right. I mean, he signed for $3 million to the Patriots last year on a 1-year deal. You're only signing him to a 1-year deal anyway, so you say he's cheaper than that this year. So he's probably 1.5, maybe 2. I don't know what the veteran minimum is for a guy with his experience level either, but I would assume he'd make about 1.5 to 2. The problem I have with it is you have too many running backs on the roster. And who are you letting go at this point? And is Zeke going to be better than the people you let go? I get if you didn't have Deuce Vaughn, if it was Rico Dowdle on this roster and that's it, but you have to draft a running back. You have to draft a running back. It's a prerequisite. If you just run out with Zico and Rico Dowdle this season, you're not trying to win a Super Bowl. You're not doing anything. You might as well trade Dak and CD now. It's over. Stop. Just stop. Just we're not playing the games anymore. Start trading players. So if you want to, for a second season, pretend that you don't need a running back in an offense where you're just really setting Dak Prescott up to lose because you're not adding a running game to it. If you didn't already have 3 running backs on your roster, you need to draft a running back. That would be then you sign Zeke. That's your 5th running back. Now you have to get rid of 2 of those guys. Now you could probably still put Deuce Vaughn on a practice squad, and he may not get picked up now because there's going to be a new class of running backs in there. So you might be able to knock him down to the practice squad. If you do lose him, it's not the end of the world. And you let go of Royce Freeman. But I want to see those decisions made before you bring in a Zeke Elliott, because if you sign Zeke before you draft a running back, you're not drafting a running back, and that's why it annoys me.
Not all these guys are going to make the roster. That's the whole point. This is your 90-man roster, so this is before all the cut downs and everything. So you just need options. You need bodies in there for training camp, right? You need bodies for training camp. So right now, running back, you got Dowdle. You can bring in Zeke Elliott. He'll be pennies on the dollars. You mentioned he'll be really, really cheap. You got Royce Freeman. You got Deuce Vaughn. You got Hunter Lewicki. Malik Davis, right? He's thrown in there, and then whoever you draft, like that would be your. And by the way, you're gonna have a running back by committee anyway. You're not gonna have one workhorse running back. You're not gonna be able to draft the running back that high. It's gonna be that guy, and it'll be a rookie, so they're gonna hit a rookie wall anyway. So even if their rookie is really good, they're not gonna be the workhorse running back. None of these guys are. It's gonna be a running back by committee thing, and my thing is, in that situation, there is a place for Zeke if he's cheap enough in goal line situations, in short yardage situations, maybe in situations where you want him to be mostly a pass protector, or you need a veteran back in a situation. So I'm not saying bring Zeke in as the guy. I mean, Zeke will never be the guy again. But as a piece of a committee,
I'm not opposed to it. I just think that there's other pieces. Like I think going back and saying this guy was really good 5 years ago, so let's bring him in instead of trying somebody new, and let's try and sign some new guys. Let's keep Deuce Vaughn on the roster, even though he's not going to see the field, and let's bring in. We really like Rico Dowdle. We re-signed Rico Dowdle. We expect him. I get Royce Freeman's probably going to be like Ronald Jones was last year, which is a guy you signed and isn't going to make the roster, most likely. So I get that you can bring him in. What scares me the most is seeing what they're doing this season. 100% believe they don't draft a running back. They sign Zeke Elliott and they walk that out this season. That's why it scares me. I think they should. If they do both, if they draft a running back, I'm fine bringing Zeke Elliott for about $1.5 million a year. And for this year, and I'm fine.
It's cost effective. It's cost effective because you get a veteran running back who's going to be really cheap for you, who is somewhat familiar with the system and the players. And I'm with you. Listen, I know that he's got nothing left, but I'm just saying for the Cowboys, you don't have good options anymore. You're at the Argo principle now. You're going with the best bad idea at running back. You're out of the good ideas are done.
Yeah.
You don't have, there's no more good ideas because you don't have enough draft picks, honestly, to really. Now you probably could, and this is something we'll get into in Rod's rant actually. But you don't have enough draft picks to have it at any luxury picks. And whoever you draft that running back, you need one. You need another body. You're probably going to be drafting that guy in the 4th round or somewhere like that. And there are not really any running backs in the 4th round they're going to project immediately to be starters for you. So like I said, you're going to have a running back by committee, and he can be part of the committee. Deuce Vaughn might be part of the committee for all I know. I don't know. You know what I mean? You have a committee of 3 or 4 guys.
That's the problem.
I doubt it, but I'm just saying,
if every single one on your committee averages under 3 yards a carry, it's not a committee.
But who are you going to go? Who are you talking about going to get? That is going to be best. I said you got the Argo principle. You're the best bad idea. This is the best bad idea. Give me a better idea.
Not bringing back a guy who is a problem with the franchise because he's
the better alternative. What's the better alternative?
Anybody than Zeke. Any other
Anybody,
player,
there are guys
player.
out there in free agency. They don't like those guys, Patrick. They're not talking to those
I
guys.
get they don't like them because they don't look out and scout other players. That's my problem is that this is exactly what the Cowboys always do is they say, well, we talked to Zeke, so we don't have to take Jonathan Brooks in the second round. We can wait till the 5th round to get a running back. Oh, there's no running backs in the 5th round? Well, we got Zeke. We'll be good. And then we'll go out. And then
they still take Jonathan Brooks in the second round, but Jonathan Brooks may not be ready to go immediately either.
Look,
because he's coming
I will
off the
tell you,
injury.
again, if they draft a quarterback, you can sign Zeke. I don't want you looking at Zeke. I don't want Zeke in the Dallas. I don't want him in the state of Texas until you draft
almost
a
felt like
quarterback.
you're just like anti-Zeke, period. And I get that, but my point is he still would have a role in there, and the role would be just as a short yardage guy, and he can do that.
I get he could be a short yard. That was for the Patriots last year. I get that.
Yeah.
That's
all he's gonna be.
I do not. Let's put it this way. After the press conference yesterday, I don't trust the Cowboys. It's like putting my dog in a room with a plate of food on the table. I'm not going to leave the room for 30 minutes. I don't trust the Cowboys not to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, but that's with anything. I mean, the Cowboys are going to screw up the CD Lamb. No, they are. They're going to screw.
I know.
We just hit Amon-Ra St. Brown just signed a new deal with the Detroit Lions, and like I said, they're deferring reports. I see Spot Track now when I look at highest paid wide receivers in the NFL. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown at $30 million per year, up there with Tyreek Hill. The report I saw from Pro Football Talk had him at $28 million per year, roughly 27.5. But that still would have him third or tied with Devontae Adams for $28 million a year. So either way, he's top 3 price tag, top 3 highest paid wide receivers in the league. And CeeDee Lamb, since he's also a non-All-Pro. Now, CeeDee Lamb's been with the Cowboys 4 years. I think this is Amon-Ra St. Brown just got done with his 3rd year, going into his 4th year. And this is the problem. This is why you distrust the Dallas Cowboys and anything that they decide to do, because the Detroit Lions are doing the right thing by signing Amon-Ra St. Brown earlier. The Cowboys waited a little bit later. They waited 1 more year late on CeeDee Lamb, and he became an All-Pro this year, had his best year, which is good. That's really good. That's a guy you drafted, and you're happy that he outperformed his draft status. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but is if you had signed him just a little bit earlier, man, the bargain you would have right now, because you wouldn't have to sign him probably to the richest deal for a wide receiver.
What did Jerry say yesterday? He just wants to see a couple more leaves fall. That first leaf was heavy. That first leaf was heavy.
You know? Yeah, because CeeDee Lamb just had his best year. First team All-Pro. You could argue he's the best receiver in the league, right behind Tyreek Hill, whatever. And he's going to want to be compensated for that. But last year, he was a top 10 receiver. And you got to pay him like a top 5 receiver. And that's better than paying him like the top receiver, which you want to pay him like the top receiver now.
Yeah.
Oh, if Amon-Ra St. Brown is getting $28 million a year, or even like Spot Track says $30 million a year, people believe CeeDee Lamb is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh,
so
100%.
You're in for it.
Yeah.
You're in for it.
No, and CeeDee Lamb believes he's better.
No, I was just saying, I think a lot of people just believe like CeeDee Lamb is a better receiver. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's awesome, but if he got that deal, oh man, CeeDee about to break the bank.
Yeah, I think Amon-Ra could be a top 10, maybe top 15 receiver in the league. I have to go look at the number and look
I think
at
he could continue to be a top 5 guy. I think you can make that argument if you really want to, that he's a top 5 guy. But just based on what he did last year, though. He just had his big year.
I have to look at the stats because I can't. I mean, we know Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are up at your top receivers, but I think CeeDee Lamb to me is definitely in the top 5. It's not an argument of him being top 5.
St. Brown this year was a first team All-Pro.
Okay, all right. So we'll put him up.
But you're right. That's this year. If you're talking about the last 4 or 5 years, he might be top 10 because then you throw in Chase and Jefferson and Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. And I'm with you. I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying is I think he's around that area, but I would put CeeDee Lamb pretty much for sure in the top 5 right now from what he did last season too. And that's just where I would put it. But if you're the Cowboys, that is going to, it just went up because I didn't expect him to get that contract. Good for the Lions for getting it done, because again, you're going to have to pay him eventually.
Got to pay him anyway.
So you might as well give him the contract that in 3 wide receivers. And then we saw Brandon Ayuk posted a picture of him dancing after that contract.
Yeah, because he's like, oh yeah, I'm about to get paid. And because once Jamar Chase signs his and Justin Jefferson signs his, this guy's gonna get bumped down to third, fourth, fifth highest paid receiver, whatever it may be. And you're right, CeeDee Lamb is going to be and CeeDee Lamb was an All-Pro last year. He was a second-team All-Pro last year. So second-team All-Pro, you should have been like, you know what, let's do it. Let's do it. Guys, trending. Let's go. You should have got that deal done earlier.
And then when we looked at the Tyreek Hill contract, that he's in 2 years going to be making 40-some. So they're going to cut him and get out of that contract in 2 years.
Yeah, they got
and so when he's out of that, then that's another new contract because he'll probably still be good enough. Someone's going to pay him, and he'll still can make $30 million a year. He won't make 40, but he'll make 30. And it's just another, and it just keeps dropping down the list. But if you would have signed CD last year, you probably could have got him under 30.
Yeah.
And you'd be sitting so pretty right now.
Yep, you're right. That's a good point. You could have paid him 28 last year, made him the second highest paid receiver behind Tyreek Hill, and he'd have been giddy about it. Yeah. Now you're going to have to pay him more than 30 because he's going to want more than Tyreek Hill now. And I'm not. It's hard to argue when you look at the market and what Amon-Ra St. Brown just got. That conversation. I knew that's going to come back to Cowboys fans. All right, let's get to Raj Rant. We'll be quick here because I want to get to these mock drafts on the side. So let's get to Raj Rant really quickly. I just got 2 nuggets for you. One about the Cowboys, one about the Texans. All right, note from The Athletic's Diana Rossini, who covers the NFL, senior NFL writer. This is about the Texans. Said she wouldn't be surprised to see the Texans trade back into the first round. The Texans aren't on the clock until the second round, but I wouldn't put it past Nick Caserio to trade into the first round Thursday night. I'm expecting Houston to at least try, just based on Caserio's history. He traded 8 times last year and 7 times in 2022. We'll see if he starts calling Thursday. This might be the surest bet of the NFL draft, honestly.
Well,
it is that Nick Caserio will at least try his damnedest to trade back into the first round. I agree with her. No, he's made 9 more trades than any other GM in the league since he got the GM job with the Texans, and nobody has made more trades in the draft the last 2 years than Caserio. Yeah, I think she's right. I think he's going to try to trade back into that first round.
I mean,
and he might do it.
Well, and especially I think the position, and I mean, if you can go out and there's a DB that slips and he's number 2 on your board, something like that. And
because of all the offensive players being drafted,
all these quarterbacks and everyone, and Quinn Mitchell drops, or Terrion Arnold or one of those guys. And you're like, I can go out and get somebody that I feel is a solid. He could be number 1 for us, but at least a number 2. Build up, and then we have all these young guys behind him and all these guys, second chance opportunity guys behind him. But I can go get a guy who in any other draft may be a top 10 pick.
Yep.
And he's going to fall to 20. And then I just got to go back up there and go get him.
Because you don't need anything on offense right now. Your O-line is built. You got your quarterback. Your wide receivers look great. You just traded for another wide receiver. You really don't need offense. No. So you can be that team that takes advantage of this run on offensive guys in the first round, and let those defensive guy drops, and you just trade right up. And you'll probably end up trading a sensible amount too, because it'll be some team in the bottom of that first round that they, obviously, and honestly, I don't know, it sounds crazy. It could be the Cowboys they trade with.
If
I'm thinking about it, how about this? Real quick, because I know you want to get them something just about this. This is the other nugget I wanted to get out. And this comes from Dane Brugler. Dane Brugler says the Cowboys are an interesting wild card in the back half of the first round. I don't see Barton for Fawatanu or the left tackle they want falling to 24. He said, and I doubt Dallas will trade up. He said, trade back for Dallas feels like the most realistic scenario, maybe out of the first round altogether. I'm not opposed to that, trading down, getting more picks, because that's what the Cowboys need. They need more players.
They do. And also, they are in cap hell right now. And if you're in cap hell, you don't want another first round pick necessarily. You could want a second round pick for the cap implications.
Half the guaranteed money, too.
Half the guaranteed money. You could want that as well. So, if you look at the Cowboys pick and the Texans, they made a deal before. We know they had the conversation. They made the Brandon Cooks deal last year. Maybe you call in there, say, hey, we got that second round and we can make something switch around, give you 2 second rounders. You can go get another offensive lineman there.
Oh, honestly, I think that's it,
That could
That
be
hit. I love that. That's a good one. That's a good one, man.
No,
that
but I think that, and the only other position I say on offense for the Texans that you draft is running back, but you're not drafting them in the first round anyway. But you may take another running back somewhere in the draft, just if you want to move on from Dameon Pierce, or if you're not sure he's a guy, you may draft somebody in the third or fourth round.
Oh, that could be part of the Cowboys trade. They need a running back.
That's true. Send him Dameon Pierce.
We just what's we doing here on the Rodcast?
We did it, guys.
We're trying to help the Cowboys and the Texans. Put not mind that actually works though, Patrick. That works. Send him Dameon Pierce, and then like another middle round pick or second round pick. Get it done. Move back in there. That 24th pick. And you're right. Get a young DB, because you're right. DBs are gonna fall. Because they'll have the D ends and the edge rushers. You may get that D tackle. Byron Murphy will be early, and then nothing but offensive players. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, there you go. Little nugget there. And this is what I think the Cowboys have been thinking about too. I want to get this out there. Guys, their draft class last year didn't do a damn thing. Now, I'm not saying they're busts or anything. They just the circumstances worked out where you didn't get any contributions at all from your 2023 draft class. I mean, not what Mozzie Smith didn't work out for you.
No.
Luke Schoonmaker didn't. He was injured. DeMarvin Overshown got injured. Fehoko, the edge, didn't play much. Eric Scott Jr., the cornerback, didn't play much. A 6th-round pick. Deuce Vaughn, practice squad. Jalen Brooks, 7. I mean, it gave you nothing. Maybe the hope is that basically you're going to get infused with 2 draft classes this season. Basically the one last year that didn't work out at all because of circumstances, and then you'll get this new crop. And maybe that's what the Cowboys are depending on, because they are the most homegrown team in the NFL.
They are, and they've said as much. But again, that's a lot of hope. No, we nailed last year. There was just injuries. And Mozzie Smith, that was just a fluke, but he'll be better because we'll put weight. He just didn't work in that system. If that's their theory, though, that's risky.
It's risky.
Because you could have missed on all of those picks last year and then miss on all of these this year.
Yeah. They hit the Cowboys draft really well, but you're right. Chances are it's mixed. You hit on half and you miss half.
No, and we know Demo won't be a miss. He was just in.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Put that juju out there.
Yeah, so maybe that's what the Cowboys are. I'm trying to give Cowboys fans hope. That's how we're trying to do. All right, we come back. Mock drafts. I'm a mock slut. We'll throw them all at you, as many as we can. Tell you what the Longhorns are. Tell you how they got these quarterbacks situated. We'll give you that on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Tom Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Let me tell you about our friends over at Apple Leasing. If time is money, my friends at Apple Leasing are in the business of saving you both. They can save you time, save you money, and find you tremendous value. They have the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The folks over at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. All it takes on your end is one phone call or click on the Apple Leasing website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. They have what they call a simple interest easy lease, and it's just that, right? It makes things simple and easy for you. It's going to give you a lot more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is affecting everything. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. That's why leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So give them a call, 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday. That's when Patrick, the Idealionaire, that's when he comes up with a new theme. And a new theme for today is a tribute to the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class. And Mary J. Blige?
Mary J. Blige
I didn't
and the
realize that.
2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class.
Man, she does rock. I don't know if she rolls with it, but man, I like the Mary J. I'm a big
Mary J. Blige
J
is
fan.
great. It's always
She's
just
great.
the question is that what
rock
we're
and
doing
roll?
now? Is that what's
yeah, because then are they doing retroactively? Because they got a lot of people to recognize it. They just
they put everybody in?
They just put everybody in. They're like the Cowboys and all in. We're all in, all in. Everybody's all in all the time. It's like, wow. That's
a question. I don't think they've gone to country yet, though. I think
they went hip hop though, right? They went hip hop.
They went hip hop.
Right?
There's an early hip hop pioneer in this year's class as well. We may play later.
Okay.
But yeah, there's it's.
So they're not doing country yet?
I don't think so.
Cool.
I don't think that
that's not cool.
But I think they're like, well, this culture affects rock and roll music, and country culture doesn't really affect rock and roll. Rock and roll affects country.
Oh, they're trying to go like historically.
I think they're saying that yes. That R&B and soul affects rock and roll
more ties, more connections historically to the genre of rock and roll.
Yes.
I
think that's what they're saying.
That's deep. Now I don't know how I feel about that. That's research right there. I got to go down the rabbit hole. That's good. That's that history of rock and roll class I took in college. That was a great class, by the way. Love that class, man. That was a fantastic. And by the way, that class is tough. Don't just take that class thinking, what I learned about it. No, that class was tough. One of the finals, we had to just listen. One part of the finals, he just play. It was like name that tune. He'd play like 5 to 6 seconds of a song, and you have to know it. I'm like, dude, are you serious? History of rock and roll. You have to know it. Now he picked some of the bangers, of course.
Yeah,
but I remember that test was easy.
I feel I do okay in that class.
Oh, you would kill it. You and Nick Shuley be, y'all made A. Like some people, that's how they were. They loved it. They were like, oh man, this is nothing. Oh, it's a breeze. I remember I was in there taking that test. I was one of the last people in there. Can I hear that again, please? But yeah, some people loved that history of rock and roll class. It was good. I actually really enjoyed it, but it was a challenge. I thought, I'm gonna coast through this thing. Nope. I had to take that thing seriously. I had to study. Oh man, but it's some really good study.
Yeah, but now in that class, you can hear about Mary J. Blige. So.
Tupac now. Seriously. All right, let's hit some of these mock drafts, man. We got a bunch of them. We'll try to hit as many of them as we can. Let's start with Lance Zierlein. He's one of my favorites. Lance Zierlein had his last mock draft before the official draft starts tonight. And let's go through the quarterbacks here really quickly. So at the top, and your big fat poll of the day is what team is going to trade up? What team's going to trade up to get them a quarterback? What team is most likely to trade up? What team's going to do it first? Because you may get multiple teams do it. He's got the New York Giants trading up to number 3 with the Patriots to get Drake May. He's got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels going 1 and 2. Then he's got Drake May going 3 to the Giants. And then he's got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Arizona Cardinals. And in terms of quarterbacks, he's got J.J. McCarthy at 8. To the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings traded with Atlanta at 8 to get their guy, according to this. So that would be 2 trades to your question, Patrick, about who's trading up your quarterbacks. They would have the Giants and they would have Minnesota trading up in this draft to go get their quarterback. Getting to the Longhorns on this list. How about this? The first Longhorn off the board in this draft by Lance Zierlein would be Xavier Worthy. Going at 15 to the Colts. How about that? And he's got Byron Murphy going 16 back-to-back to the Seattle Seahawks. So, man, talk about rising fast up the draft board. Now Lance Zierlein, who wasn't necessarily a huge Xavier Worthy fan.
Yeah.
You know who made him a fan? Steve Smith. Steve Smith put Xavier Worthy in his top 5, and they had a podcast together I listened to, and it was really good, by the way. And Steve Smith was a bigger fan of Xavier Worthy, I think, than Lance Zierlein, and then he kind of brought Lance Zierlein on with him, like, hey, man, this dude, he's more than just a track star. He's a real deal. He's got A.D. Mitchell going to the 49ers, to the San Francisco 49ers at 31. So he's got 3 Longhorns.
He's got 3 Longhorns. I'll throw you the Matt Miller one real quick.
Give it to
Matt Miller has Byron Murphy going 8th to the Atlanta Falcons. And this is, he falls into it with a couple other people in the Falcons, but it's a trade back. But Byron Murphy, he has him going to the Falcons because his comparisons to Aaron Donald and Raheem Morris, and
Yeah.
using him in that sense of I had this guy and I was able to use him. So that is a sense that a lot of people have, that he wants to try and find that guy in Atlanta. So he has him going there. So a really high pick there. He also has Xavier Worthy going 15th to the Colts. What he says is, here's one where I'm going all in on intel. The Colts have been linked to Worthy in numerous phone calls and texts over the past week, enough so that I'm buying it. So he's saying it's just intel. He doesn't believe it in his own heart. He's saying
the same thing.
He's saying we're hearing in the media that the Colts are high on Xavier Worthy at 15. That would be huge. And then I believe, let's see, and then he does have A.D. Mitchell going 28th to the Buffalo Bills, a name we've heard him go to a lot in that one.
Wow. That is interesting. So we got two Xavier Worthies to the Colts. You got Lance Zierlein, who's pretty plugged in.
What he says in that one too is, it's like, this is not my pick. This is not. This is purely based on I'm texting and calling people, and everyone's saying Colts are going for him.
I didn't give you the Cowboys pick. The Cowboys in that Lance Zierlein pick, they picked taking Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. And in the I'll give you now the Bucky Brooks his latest mock draft. Just in quarterbacks, he's got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May going 1, 2, 3 to the Bears, the Commanders, and the New England Patriots. He's also, in terms of the Longhorns, he's got Byron Murphy, to your point, 8th to the Falcons.
That's a big one.
So that's another one. He's got Byron Murphy going 8 to the Falcons. So kind of backing up what you just read there. And whose mock draft did you just have? Who was that?
Matt Miller.
So
and he also for the Cowboys had Amarius Mims from Georgia.
Okay. All right. So we're just getting some kind of some trends developing with these mock drafts. But getting back to this, the Bucky Brooks one, Bucky Brooks actually, for the Cowboys, he's got Graham Barton, Cowboys taking offensive lineman. So everybody's got the Cowboys taking an offensive lineman. But Bucky Brooks doesn't have any of the Longhorns in his first round mock draft. He didn't have either of the receivers being taken in the first round.
All right, forget you.
Yeah,
Mr.
that's weird.
Brooks, you're out of here.
I'll admit that's strange. He's got Byron Murphy rising up, but he does not have anybody else. That is weird. The Jordan Reed 7th round mock draft. Let's get to that one just really quickly, where they have the Longhorns. In his 7th round mock draft, he's got Byron Murphy going 18 to the Bengals. He's got Xavier Worthy going 24th to the Chiefs via a trade. Who's been telling you they're going to trade for Xavier Worthy? Rod B. The Bills taking A.D. Mitchell at 28th. So we've seen that a lot. That's very popular. So he's got 3 Longhorns in the first round. He's got the Cowboys taking Jonathan Brooks in the 2nd round with 56th overall. He's got J.T. Sanders going 84th overall to the Seattle Seahawks. Ooh, I like that pick. He's got the Bengals taking Christian Jones at 97th overall, and he's got Tavondre Sweat going to the Falcons at 108 overall. Man, maybe it's something about the Falcons liking them Texas defensive tackles. And he's got the Texans taking Jalen Ford at 188. I would love that.
I would love that too. Field Yates also has the Falcons taking Byron Murphy. He has them taking him at 11 though on a trade down. That they make a trade with the Vikings for a quarterback, and then the Falcons trade down to 11. They end up with Byron Murphy there. So he's also on the Byron Murphy train. He doesn't have Xavier Worthy going to the Colts. He has him going 21 to the Dolphins. Can't resist the track meet.
Yep. That makes
so
sense
he has him going
too.
21 to the track meet, and he does have just coming in A.D. Mitchell to Kansas City. So all 3 on there, and Field Yates as well.
I like that. Peter Schrager, who does Good Morning Football, he had his last mock draft, or the latest mock draft. Quarterback rise, he's got Caleb Williams, Jaden Downs, and Drake May going 1, 2, 3 to the Bears, the Commanders, and to the Patriots. But then he's got a little bit of a shakeup. He's got J.J. McCarthy going 7th to the Vikings. And he's got Michael Penix Jr. being drafted 13th to the Raiders. So he's got a bit of he's got 5 quarterbacks going in the first round. He's got Byron Murphy going to the Colts at 15. He's got Xavier Worthy going to the Jags at 17. And he's got A.D. Mitchell going to the 49ers. Another A.D. Mitchell to the 49ers pick at 31. To me, if the 49ers are drafting receiver, that means they're trading Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yeah.
They draft the receiver in the first round. Some people have them drafting receiver. That would mean they were trading.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You're, and I mean, we figure they're trading him anyway because I don't think they can pay him.
I'm with you. I don't know if they can, because they got to play Purdy in the future.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to hamstring you too much because you're trying to keep Christian McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and Brock Purdy and somewhere either that or you're telling whoever your defensive coordinator is going to be. Sorry,
Hey,
you get
deal with
nothing.
it.
You get nothing.
You get nothing. All right, so there you mock draft. You're seeing some similarities, but it looks like one theme is that Xavier Worthy is shooting up draft boards at the last minute, right? That's it. And so is Byron Murphy.
Yeah, Byron
Both of
Murphy,
those guys.
both those
Byron
guys,
Murphy and Xavier Worthy are shooting up draft boards.
and the
right
Colts, a team to watch for Xavier Worthy. Apparently, a lot of intel on that one. I
Yeah.
will mention the text links. We
And
got
Byron
a lot
Murphy
of these.
to the Falcons is another hot name,
Yes.
pick too.
Before we go to the break, though, I do want to mention, because I do like you guys on the text line, that they did. There's two main things they mentioned. One, I was very wrong. Dolly Parton did go in the Hall of Fame last year, so they have started doing country.
Oh,
So I was wrong on that one. You guys got me on that. And then a lot of people agreeing with you. Great class of the history of rock and roll at UT. A lot of people took it on our text line, agree with you, and some of them said it was very hard.
Whoa, really?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, trust me. It was tough for me. Like I said, I was not a true rock and roll enthusiast. But man, it was no joke. But I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed the challenge. I forget the professor's name that taught it. But it was in one of those big classes too. So thank you guys on the text line for your empathy in my situation, empathizing with how tough the history of rock and roll was. All right, we come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats. Got a couple of those that we'll share that we'll wrap up this 7 o'clock hour. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? This is your Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers. Austin, Texas is a great town. Even with the traffic, it's still a great city. That's why people keep moving to Austin, making the traffic worse, but also making it one of the fastest growing cities in America. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers, local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting new career path, or you want an exciting employment opportunity, or a refreshing career change, or maybe you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. Right now, they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, even a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. Go online and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for what the facts, what the stats. Will be quick with this because I know we're up against it. How about this? Tiger Woods will receive up to $100 million in equity for staying loyal to the PGA Tour. That is being reported by James Corrigan. Yeah, so Tiger's just gonna get some cash just because Tiger's remained loyal to the tour. Yeah, because if I mean,
hey, they know if he went over there,
live,
it really would have
yes.
swung the bet. I heard Rory's getting 50 for staying loyal.
For staying loyal, yeah, because there were rumors that Liv offered him some ungodly sum of money.
Yeah,
Why
which
wouldn't
Greg
they?
Norman disputed, but
Okay.
Rory was one of the ones who fought against it the whole time, and he was,
Yeah, he did.
and so,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I mean, Rory's also one of the people that had one of the golf games named after him. That it was when they took it away from Tiger, when making his cheating
Yeah, you're
scandals and
right.
all that.
Good
It
point.
was Rory McIlroy, PGA Golf, and all of that.
Yeah.
So he was a big name in it,
Hey,
and so
loyalty bonus, baby. Loyalty bonus.
hey man, thanks for staying and turning down 10 times this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically they
But
turned
you know
down
what?
10 times that.
They did turn it down, but you know what? Those guys didn't want to do it, so it's good to just give them a little piece.
No,
They didn't want to
exactly.
do
That's
it
all
anyway.
you want sometimes. You just want a little
To show
recognition.
appreciation.
Yes.
Exactly. Just show me that you appreciate me. Because a lot of people, if your boss came to you and was like, hey man, I got a loyalty bonus for you. You've been with the company for a little while. Here's a little loyalty bonus. And you probably believe, hey man, honestly, you should have been giving me raises for the last 10 years or so.
Exactly.
But you would appreciate the one-time little loyalty bonus
But
they give
now,
to you.
but now I can have a good weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm sure the loyalty bonus wouldn't be that much. It ain't gonna be what Tigers.
He's not gonna be $100 million.
No, you ain't gonna come close to that. It might be $100. $100, you better take that, man. Especially if it's cash. I'll take that.
That's like 2 tanks of gas for me.
Seriously. How about these numbers from the transfer portal? This comes from yesterday, from the first week of the spring portal. 497 scholarship transfers. That's up 47% from last year. 25% repeat transfers, and 48% of them are leaving Power 5 schools. The most transfers in terms of position-wise are D linemen, 95 of them, and DBs, 94 of them. So there you go. DBs, a lot of D linemen, DBs. And what does Texas need? D linemen and DBs.
Hey, there you go.
Last little stat here, NBA related. Over the last 3 years in the playoffs, the Celtics are now 10-11 straight up when they are favorites of at least 5 points or more. The rest of the NBA is 62-20, 76% win percentage in that spot. Boston has 36% of those total playoff losses. It's crazy.
So when they're favored by a lot, take the other side. And you're pretty
they
safe.
don't show up for some reason. I don't know why. They're 10-11 straight up when they're favored by
texted my
5
buddy,
points or more.
I texted my buddy yesterday after that. It was like, you know that Joe Mazzulla's gonna have to go watch the town like twice to get over this loss.
That's a good one. Yeah, well, that kind of loss, especially when a team gets that high from 3-point range. We'll talk about it on that side. Not much you could do. All right, we'll come back. We'll discuss the NBA playoffs. We'll review the games last night. Preview the matchups coming up tonight. Transfer portal, give it and take it away for Texas men's basketball and Texas football. We'll talk about them both right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday edition of the Rodcast. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, he plays songs in tribute of a new theme. And the new theme for today is a dedication to the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class. And who is this actually?
This is Foreigner. And they have bigger hits than this one. I just played this one because this is what my dog is named after. My dog is actually named after the singer from Foreigner because the song's called Dirty White Boy. And when I found him, my dog's white and he was covered. It took 4 baths to get him clean because I found him on the streets and he was a little beat up and tired and very dirty. And so he's a dirty white boy.
Oh, well done. Like
so that's that. Yes. So that is so that's
he's
what
a good boy too.
Yeah, this is this one's for Lou. Is my boy Lou. But yeah, Foreigner going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Very good rock.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I love the story of Lou. Just showed up in your front yard, basically, right there.
Yeah, showed up. It was like the worst part is it ties me to Kobe, which I hate. It was Kobe's last game, and we were all watching it. So remember, Kobe went off like 60-something points in that game.
Yeah. And so celebrities were there and stuff.
Me and my roommates were watching it, and then one of my roommates walked out front, and he was like, "There's a dog out here, like in the front yard," and it's like it does not look good. And so he brought it in, and then it was not chipped, and then. It's like, hey, I guess I got it done.
Did you say you tried to take it?
I took it to get chipped, and they were like, it's not chipped, it's full. He's full grown, and he's got pit in him. So if you take him to the pound, they'll probably put him down. And I was like, well, that's not happening.
That's not happening.
He's too sweet of a dog. I'm not doing that.
And you were right about that, man. You're right. Lucho, that was a good choice by Lou. In terms of all the houses he could have walked in front of.
All the houses.
He chose the perfect one.
Yeah, 8 years. I've had him for 8 years now. Crazy.
That is fantastic. You don't really know how old Lou is.
No, I figured. So I gave him my birthday. So we're doing that big birthday celebration for my 40th. It'll be his 10th. We said he was like 2 to 3 when I got him. So we're going with days 2, and it's my birthday. So it's his 10th birthday and my 40th birthday. We're doing that on May 25th out at South Austin Beer Garden. It's going to be a benefit for the Health Alliance for Austin musicians. Keep telling you more info about that, and we'll put all that stuff up. But
great stuff. I love it. Also love Lou, man. Lou's a really great dog. All right, we'll get to the horn headlines here momentarily, but then we'll get to the transfer portal. It give it, then it taketh away. And for Longhorn football, seems like it's been taken away more than it's been giving lately. So we'll talk about that, but also Texas men's basketball with a huge transfer portal acquisition that I know Longhorn fans are really excited about. We'll talk about that. Review the NBA playoffs a little bit. We finally had our first real plot twist when Miami got a win over Boston in game 2. That was a real plot twist there. And I don't know if we've had enough of those in the first round of the NBA playoffs. So we'll discuss the games coming up, and we'll talk about the games last night, but talk about the games coming up, and could we potentially see another plot twist in tonight's round of games in the NBA playoffs. So we'll get to that too coming up. We got a Behind the Burnt Orange Curtain segment coming up. Next segment, that's when I'll discuss the defensive backfield for Texas football. I know after the spring game and now looking at some of the transfer portal departures, none of them were as impactful as Terrence Brooks. So the defensive backfield losing a lot along with Austin Jordan. So a lot of Longhorn fans may be feeling a certain kind of way about the secondary. So I'll try to break that down and talk about what they struggled with last year and this and really one of my ideas to help this group, which doesn't necessarily have a lot of talented, experienced depth, but they do have some good players, versatile players. And I think there's a way for Texas to maximize their talent and reach their full potential. And I'll talk about that when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. All right. Also, it's a freaky stat that I got to share with you about Texas pass defense when we go behind the burnt orange curtain too. We'll do that coming up next segment. All right. Big fat poll today as well. Let's not forget about that. Patrick does a great job with it. Patrick, let people know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Who trades up to get a quarterback first for the draft? And it could technically happen before the draft even happens. It could happen during the day at some point. Someone could trade up and their intention is to get a quarterback. So we could say it could be that, but there's not been the trade yet. It could be to 3, could be to 4. I mean, we've seen that they said someone in one of their mock drafts had him trading up to 8 to get a quarterback from the Falcons. So there's several picks where it could be, but Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, and Giants are the 4 most likely teams to trade up to get a quarterback, and the 4 that would most likely give up more to move up in that 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I think that, right now I'm looking at the Vikings because of how and really how bare the cupboard is in their quarterback room. And I think the Broncos should be one of those teams thinking about it. Because their quarterback room is so bare. I think they may be the most desperate, but all the mock drafts we looked at, not all of them, a lot of them, they had a lot of teams moving up. Minnesota Vikings, New York Giants trading up to go get a quarterback in the first round. All right, so there you go. Check that out on the text line 512-447-3776. All right, let's get to the Horn headlines, get updated, educated, and informed of all the big headlines of the day, and then we'll talk about the transfer portal on the 40 acres for the Texas men's basketball team and for the football team. So Patrick, take us away with the Horn headlines, please.
Your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball will take on Nichols tonight in a matchup where sophomore catcher Reese Atwood will look to set the single-season RBI record for the Longhorns. Atwood tied the mark in the series last weekend. Texas, who is currently the number 1 ranked team in the country, ranking alive with only 7 games left to go in the regular season. Texas basketball secured the commitment of transfer guard Jordan Pope yesterday. Pope, who averaged 17.6 points and 3.4 assists a game while shooting 37% from 3 last season for Oregon State. Pope, who has 2 years of eligibility left, joins Tremont Mark, Julian Larry, and Jason Kent as the transfers added so far by the Longhorns. Texas is still waiting for decisions from center Brandon Garrison and forward Reedus Petritus. In the NBA, the Heat took a game in Boston to even the series 1-1 behind an epic shooting night, making 23 three-pointers to pick up a win 111-101 over the Celtics. And the Thunder looked much more like the number 1 seed in the West with a dominant 124-92 win over the Pelicans. Tonight, 3 teams looking to avoid going down 3-0 return to their home courts, with the Magic hosting the Cavs, the Knicks hosting Philadelphia, or Knicks heading to Philadelphia, and the Lakers facing the Nuggets. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros once again allowed a big first-inning lead as they could not overcome. The Cubs put up 4 runs in the first inning, and a Jose Altuve 9th-inning homer was not enough, with the Astros falling 4-3. And the Rangers took the lead after back-to-back home runs from Garcia and Carta and never looked back as they defeated the Mariners 5-1. The Rangers are back in action early today with pregame starting at 1 p.m. right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Before we talk Texas men's basketball, just really quickly, Texas football losing another defensive back, departing via the transfer portal, Austin Jordan, who wasn't a starter for Texas. I mean, he played sparingly, mostly just on special teams, so a special teams contributor for Texas, but not someone who was expected to compete for a starting spot or even be one of the rotational players. So this is not something that Texas fans should be freaking out about, but if you start looking at the overall defensive backfield and the kind of the personnel back there, they got a lot of young guys, of course, who they brought in via this recruiting class. Man, you brought in 5 defensive backs via this latest recruiting class, 6 if you include Makuba in the transfer portal, but Makuba is a veteran guy. But I do think that's evidence that it was the last phase of roster construction for Texas. You know, Sark's an offensive guy, so we're talking about talent acquisition cycles and roster construction. There were other areas of the team and positions that I think were prioritized over the defensive backfield. O-line, quarterback, wide receiver. Why not? That makes sense, right? Sark's an offensive guy. Is JT Sanders going to play defense? No. JT Sanders is going to play offense. He's playing tight end. So Sark wanted to get his pieces first and get his offense first, which totally makes sense. He's the play caller and the head coach. And then I think they started working on defense later on. So look at your defensive pieces now. Now you got your high-level defensive prospects like an Anthony Hill, like a Colin Simmons, like a Malik Muhammad, like a Derek Winston. Those guys are young because they just started working on the defense in terms of roster construction. And the defensive backfield, in my opinion, was the last phase of roster construction for Texas, which is why it has been struggling. They thought, and I think they did a good job of, being able to maximize the pieces they inherited on defense. Think about the D-line. Your Tavondre Sweat, you inherited, and DeMarvion Overshown, and your Jalen Fords. So I think mostly the coaches did a good job. It's credit to them. They just developing the talent they inherited on the defensive side of the ball, Jadae Barron, guys like that, and they really didn't infuse it with much new talent. Now they're doing that. Now they got Trey Moore in the transfer portal. Now they got Makuba in the transfer portal, right? Now they're recruiting some of the young high-level guys, Colin Simmons and Anthony. So I think that's what's happening, or at least that's what happened. And as a result of that, now you're looking at talent back there, but it's young, unproven, inexperienced talent that you just brought in. And now you're losing some of your frontline veteran pieces who were there to stabilize the defensive backfield, mostly Terrence Brooks, who started 13 or 14 games for you. So when you start looking at what they've lost just in the last year, this is a group that was 102nd in pass defense last season in college. They've lost Ryan Watts, who's a starting corner for you. That was a starting corner for you last year. You've lost Jaron Thompson, who's a starting safety for you last year. You lost Terrence Brooks, who was another starting corner for you last season. You lost Keaton Crawford, who's a rotational player for you last year. And you lost Austin Jordan, who was a depth piece for you. So you've lost a lot in that secondary. And we'll get into this and we go behind the burn orange curtain. And I have an idea of how you can mitigate the damage of really kind of the inexperience now and the experience that you've lost and the damage that could be done there. But you got to look for solutions and you got to look for options in the transfer portal. Takario Davis is right now, I think, the top priority for them based on what my friends over at On Texas Football have said. He is the Arizona cornerback, 6'3". He led the Pac-12 in passes defended and PBUs. Long, lanky, rangy corner with an NFL ceiling. The other corner they're looking at is out of Western Kentucky, Anthony Johnson Jr. If they don't get either one of those guys, they need to have contingency plans in place about how you are going to approach building this secondary if you don't get reinforcements. And you just have to rely on the young guys and the guys that you have right now on campus. But that is the conundrum they're in right now, Patrick, is that they just right now they're missing capable, competent, experienced bodies and defenders in the defensive backfield. They're just they're because like I said, Jaron Thompson was that guy for you. Ryan Watts was one of those guys, and now Terrence Brooks is one of those guys. So you're going to need those young guys to step up if you don't get transfer portal help.
Yeah, I mean, it really slows down your rotation because if you're saying you have not a ton of experience in the front of your rotation, the back of your rotation is extremely inexperienced. But it's going to be, it could lead to better competition in the room if you have young guys that feel they have a real shot to start playing and guys, what they do over this next month while they're by themselves. If some of these young guys go out and start trying to work on some things and trying to improve and realize they have a real shot to play, I think you do need to try and get at least a guy or two in the transfer portal in the secondary. I think, you got to go get that effort, but there's no guarantee you're bringing in somebody who's going to be able to step in, and be able to help day one. So you need to have those young guys and really hope that they go out and try and get coaching over the next couple of weeks and the next month while they're in between spring and going back to school and practicing again. It's going to be really important for this team to try and figure out if they can get one or two of those young guys to step up in the next season.
Yep. I agree. Gilbo right now may be, let's say, the saving grace, but if he steps up, because I've heard good things about him in the spring, they got a good look at him because Jahdae Barron didn't play in the spring or didn't practice in the spring. So they know what he can do with him. Now they have confidence and he's earned their trust. He could be a game changer for them because that would allow them to move Jahdae Barron out to corner, stabilize that cornerback position opposite Malik Muhammad. He could be the nickel for you, and then you would have Makuba at a safety, and then you'd have Derek Williams at a safety. You have Taft as a rotational player, and I could see things start to come together for the secondary. So Gilbo may be the people. Right, it's got to be somebody's got to step. If they don't get and maybe they need them both, transfer portal acquisition. And young guys step up. That's their best case scenario. But if you don't get a guy via the transfer portal, you definitely need someone that we have not anticipated being a key piece to step up for you and be a key cog. And I think that may be Jalen Gilbo. Speaking of key pieces, Texas men's basketball got one, Patrick. And I know you're excited about this, so I want to give you the floor. Jordan Pope. Commitment of a young man from Oregon State. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining, which is good. But he may be the missing piece they were looking for in the backcourt. Does he represent now one of the starting guards for Texas?
Yeah. He is definitely coming in to replace Tyrese Hunter. When Tyrese Hunter went out, you needed to find that other point guard. Trey Johnson and Tremont Mark, that you both already got, really good players, but they're more both off-ball players that you're going to see more. Jordan Pope will be your guy to be able to dribble the ball up the court, get you around, start the offense. And he brings you some things that Tyrese Hunter couldn't do necessarily, or were not necessarily his best attributes. He's a better creator. So it's somebody that you cannot leave on the floor. He shot a pretty good percentage of 3 last year, 37%. You basically 37 is around the range of that's a guy you pretty much can go ahead and give a green light to in most games. 35 and above, you start to give the green light a little bit more. If you get over 40, you're good to go. Take that shot all the time. But so he shot there. He shot 37 his freshman year too. So we know that this is a consistent. It's not necessarily something that is just out of the blue. He was shooting, I think, 5 threes a game too. So it's not a small sample size. Scoring over 17 points a game too is big when you know how much this offense at times has struggled to get anything going. He's going to have to work on his defense a little bit more. Rodney Terry will help him with that, help him get his defensive game where it needs to be. He won't be Tyrese Hunter's defense, but he is a couple inches taller than Tyrese Hunter as well, which will help out not being undersized so often. But in reality, he's just a really good piece that you needed to put in that backcourt with a young Trey Johnson, with Tremont Mark. He does have 2 years of eligibility left, so there is a possibility you could have him for 2 years. But again, in today's college basketball, you're really kind of hoping that everybody you get goes to the NBA because that's how you win games. We see UConn, they got 3 guys getting drafted this year right now. So that's, if you want to be one of those top teams, you have to have 3 or 4 guys getting drafted every year. That's kind of where you need to be one of the top teams. So we'll see that. And then it looks at the front court. Caden Shedrick is your guy right now. You probably see Jason Kent, Nick Cody, the power forward coming in. He's dealt with some injuries, but could be fighting for rotation time there. And the 2 other transfers that you're looking at, Brandon Garrison, who's a true freshman last year for Oklahoma State, 6'11". He would definitely get into that rotation if he decides to come to Texas. He's picking between Texas and the Oklahoma schools, either going back to Oklahoma State or going to Oklahoma. That is where he is looking right now. And then Reedus Petritis, kid out of Air Force, originally from Arlington, is somebody that they are looking at as well. 6'7", younger guy as well, kind of would fit into that role of more of a Brock Cunningham that can shoot a 3, shoots really well from 3, but also can get around the paint, attacks the basket, goes underneath. 6'7", that kind of player. So not necessarily as aggressively defensively, I don't think, but is somebody that can pick up the slack on that, where he will play tough defense, a tough kid from Air Force. So those are the 2 that you're looking at right now. If you get that, and then you have that one slot open that you'll probably wait a little bit and see if someone jumps in the transfer portal. It's open until May 1st. So you may wait and see if someone jumps in late that all of a sudden, well, this guy makes our roster. You get another big-time center in there. Or, someone else, a big-time small forward maybe, or power forward, someone in that range. Then you're at least going to go make the effort for them. And if you don't, then you go try and pick up someone who's either a redshirt freshman or true freshman that can come in and, from a smaller school and, maybe be part of your depth and see if they can fight for that position. Yeah. But it's a huge move, because for Texas, if they didn't get Jordan Pope, then you start to scramble a little bit more. Who can we get in to play point guard for this team? Because with Chris Johnson also leaving, you didn't really have that point guard ready to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And are these and how big is Jordan Pope? Are these guys bigger? Because
he's 6'2", and then Trey Johnson's like 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", I think. Yeah. And Tremont Mark is 6'6".
Okay, so those guys are a little bit big, but he's not as big as those.
Yeah,
guys.
So last year you had 2 guys that I'd say Tyrese Hunter was 5'11" and 3/4. Wow, maybe 6 foot, yeah. But
what they have him listed as? What
it was 6 foot, 6 foot, 6'1", okay. I think. And then Max Asmus, I believe, was listed at 6 foot as well, and he was not 6 foot.
He was not. Yeah, I can tell you that. He was
no, not. And this is as someone who used to work sideline. There used to be people that would ask me to try and go stand next to Tyrese Hunter. They would just kind of walk by him. Just walk by him, because you're like 5'11". Let me gauge where you're at, where he's at. So the scouts trying to get me to walk past him. So I can tell you, Tyrese Hunter and me are around the same height. He's a little bit taller than me. So he may be 6 foot, but he was not much more than that. So it's, and Tyrese Hunter, really good player. Hope he does great at Memphis. But I think it was time for him to move on. He just was never consistent shooting the ball here.
Just wasn't a good fit. It just didn't fit. It never fit.
No, defensively he did, but offensively it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then, paired with Max Asmus was not the best pairing because they were both smaller guards. And both of them, Tyrese Hunter needed to have the ball in his hands a little bit more and run the offense. We weren't running it that way. You hope with this that, you're going to be able to have Jordan Pope come down. Trey Johnson could be a ball handler for you as well. You just don't normally want to put a true freshman in the position of being your main ball handler because teams will go after him hard. And he's probably not going to get all the calls in the world. And, they'll allow some guys to play rough with him sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's just rough if you're that guy as a true freshman, even though he looks to be. Man, watch some highlights. You want to get excited about Texas basketball next year, just watch some highlights. Trey Johnson.
And is he just considered one and done? Yeah.
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 Yeah. He's a guy. I mean, he's one of the top 5 recruits in the country. He's a really good player. And I mean, you always hope that somebody really loves the life here in Austin and the NIL is good and they stay.
No.
But I don't think that's happening.
You want a one and done guy. I mean, he
exactly.
balled out.
No, the reality is you want to win a national championship. Everyone celebrates and then you go and go one and done. But if you want to watch some of his highlights, he's a heck of a player. But yeah, Jordan Pope coming in, that's a big piece because it's also a piece of he is now your 4th transfer coming in.
Yeah.
And with Tremont Mark and him.
You get all 3 of them. We got 3 of them on one day. Right?
3 of them on one day. But 2 Indiana State players are good players. They're going to be part of that rotation. That's where also the other point guard you're going to have in your backup is Julian Larry. But Julian Larry was never really going to be your starter. I don't think coming from Indiana State to Texas, that's a big jump up in the defenses you're going to play. And again, guys are going to go after you. And so Jordan Pope has had that going for a couple years at Oregon State. So I think it's a really good pickup for them. I think it's going to be you're starting to see that offensive line, the starting lineup come together. And really, I just want to see one more rotation piece. And then that last scholarship you can kind of play around with if you're Rodney Terry and see if something comes along, or just go out and get somebody that you're really high on that you scouted and maybe wants to take a step up to a bigger play.
Yeah, no, Rodney Terry's doing some work here in the offseason, remaking the Texas men's basketball roster. Really quickly, the games last night, we finally got a plot twist. I know you did have Indiana that won. They were a lower seed that actually won one of their games against the Bucks too. But I don't know if that's a plot twist because Giannis is not playing, so different conversation. But a true plot twist.
But I'll say this: they had to get a win with Giannis out. They had to. And
everybody was like,
So it's not a plot twist, but it was a plot twist if it went the other way. But they had to get a win on the road there. So it was good to see them get that because they needed it.
Yeah, so that one may not. I mean, it may not go as expected. I think that one still is.
Yeah, but it's a sweep. It's a sweep if they go back to Indiana and Giannis comes back and they couldn't win without Giannis. It's over.
Yeah, you're done, son. But yeah, and you always say this, that you can throw out all the predictions and throw out all of the betting lines when one team just goes ham from 3-point range.
Yeah.
That's what basically happened in this game. It didn't matter that Jimmy Butler was hurt. Didn't matter they were on the road when Miami hits, 23 3-pointers, the most in a playoff game in franchise history. Game over.
They have shot over 50% from 3 against the Celtics in the playoffs in the last 3 years.
That's crazy.
I think 3 or 4 times.
That's weird. Yeah, you're right, because he did that when
they're one of the only teams who does it. It's not strange. It's because Boston doesn't necessarily play the same style of basketball. Boston switches on screens. It gets you open threes. Guys don't rotate out. There's things that Boston doesn't do defensively where you can get wide open threes. They basically, their concept is you're not going to shoot 50% from 3. And when you shoot 35%, we'll beat you. And the Miami walks in and Eric Spoelstra gets his team ready because they're going to give you open ones. Don't even think about it. These are practice shots, guys. You just got to hit those, and they get those guys that can hit them. And then on the flip of that, they play defense where they get out on their guys and don't give you those open threes. So you can't just make it a shootout both ways. It's that Miami team basketball of everyone putting out 100% effort all the time. That's kind of what they do. But yeah, I mean, one guy on that team is a starter on the Celtics.
That's crazy.
Like Bam Adebayo could start for the Celtics. Other than that, everyone else would be a Celtics starter, and you shouldn't be losing games in the playoffs with that. Plus, your bench is better than their bench. Everything other than your center position, basically. Bam Adebayo is the best center in the every other position. You are winning, and you couldn't get to him.
No, we've talked about it. Based on the regular season, it would be a disappointment if Boston didn't get to the finals, number
Yeah.
one. And now with facing a Miami team without Hemi and without Jimmy Butler, they for this to even be a competitive series, that also would be a surprise to a lot of people. So if that was the plot twist, maybe the first plot twist we've had so far, tonight's games, which are all between teams who are down 0-2 in these series, or teams who are up 2-0 in these series, Cleveland at Orlando, the Knicks at Philly, and the Denver Nuggets at the Lakers. Which one is most likely to have a plot twist to it?
It's not a plot twist. The 76ers have to win this game, but the 76ers have to win. I mean, they're going to be pissed off because the 2-minute report came out about the game before. They said Tyrese Maxey got fouled twice. They said they should have got a timeout. So they got 3 missed calls in the end of the game that could have swayed it to that Philly would have won. They're going to be pissed off, but they're a good team. They're going to be playing at home. Again, they're the most misseeded team in the NBA in the playoffs because of the Joel Embiid injury. They're not a normal 7 seed. They're a good team. They could have been a 2 seed if Joel Embiid played the entire season. So there's a team that they have to win one here in Philadelphia. They have to reset, and I think a win kind of resets the series for them a little bit. Then they can win another one in Philly, and then you can go back and try and play out that 3-game series. But they need a win today because they ain't coming back from 0-3 against the Knicks, so they need to win today.
Yeah, and the Knicks, they're just looking for Jalen Brunson to show up, who hasn't so far in these playoffs. I think he's shooting like less than 30%.
Oh, he's terrible.
From the
he's
field.
Shooting terrible.
He's been bad. Maybe he'll be better now with them going on the road at Philly. The Lakers, oh man, it just sucks that they were up 20 points in that game and just couldn't find a way to hold on, because now they're at home. So, to me, that was demoralizing to be up that big and still lose that game. I mean, you're talking about that was one of the biggest blown leads in Lakers playoff history. I think second biggest blown lead in the last 25 years for them in the playoffs. Do we see them have confidence because they were up big on Denver and they believe, hey, man, we're at home, we should be able to pull out this win, and we got the desperation on our side too, it backs up against the wall? Or was it demoralizing and they put out their best effort and still couldn't find a way to beat the Nuggets? I'm not sure which one is going to be for the Lakers.
I mean, I think the Nuggets sweep them. The Nuggets have won 10 straight games against the Lakers. They're just a better team. They don't have an answer for Jokic and Murray. The Lakers' main hope is that Murray doesn't show up. And Murray plays well in the playoffs.
He did for 3 quarters in the last game,
but he
and
showed
then
up.
In the fourth quarter he showed up with 14 points.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is you need Jamal Murray to not play for all 4, basically. And if you have him, if he has a Jalen Brunson game, then you can get a win.
Shot.
But you need one of them to make it. I don't know if the Lakers have enough on their own, because D'Angelo Russell didn't play poorly in that game. And
he didn't. He played good.
And you still couldn't pull off the win. So if you say, well, I need D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves and LeBron and AD.
Hachimura.
Yeah. And I need all of these guys to have big games. I don't know if I can put it together. Get 10 straight losses. 10 straight losses.
Yeah, so on top of the demoralizing loss of being up big and in a blown lead, this psychologically, they're like, we can't beat them anyway. It's the last time we beat this team. Yeah.
This is
good stuff.
And the whole, they did the whole Denver saying Mike Malone's the Lakers' daddy and all that stuff. And they're like, oh, we talked about that. We don't like that. And still doing it.
Still doing it. Yeah, still happening. No doubt. You're a good point. All right, we come back. We got behind the burn orange curtain. We'll talk about the Texas secondary. I got an idea that I think might help them maximize the depth they do have in that secondary. We'll talk about that on the other side. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. I want to talk about the Texas DBs a little bit because they're in a bit of a conundrum right now. They got a lot of young guys who are inexperienced. We saw that even in the spring game, and some of the veteran that they have right now. And I think the frontline guys are going to be good. Makuba and Derek Williams and Malik Muhammad and Jade Barron. But Texas rotates players. And they talked about that. So even if you get your frontline starters, your best five out there, they're going to play 60% of the snaps. Still got another 40% of those reps that will be taken by either what Texas looks at as kind of their rotational players, the guys who didn't win the job, but guys they believe can give you starting caliber reps. And that's where I think Texas can evolve a little bit. Because last year they would do these wholesale changes where they basically take out one group of safeties and then put in another group of safeties. Or they take out one group of corners and put in another group of corners. And I think that should do more mixing and matching. Different configurations of players, right? Almost like basketball does, different lineups. I'm always intrigued by basketball where they can, they have these different lineups that they play, and it may be just, two guys off the bench and with three starters. It ends up being like their best lineup. If you look at it, most effective and most efficient lineup, but it's all about how the coaches want to mix and match different skill sets of different players. And I think honestly, you can learn, and I think PK could, and Coach Gidding, Coach Jost could learn studying, what maybe Vic Schaefer on campus or Coach Rodney Terrell on campus, and learning like what is the methodology and the thought process behind those successful configurations and different lineups that you use in different matchups. Because I think that's what they need to do in the secondary. Still the wholesale changes that are easily exposed by an offensive coordinator. If I see, okay, so now they got their rotational players in their secondary group and not the frontline players, then there are certain plays that I would use specifically to expose that group. And I think they got them in trouble a little bit last year. So what I would like to see them is put in certain players to stabilize, certain veterans, certain frontline starters to stabilize the secondary, and then, then sprinkle in, all right, mix and match, piecemeal in other guys, not just the wholesale rotational changes. And like I said, you can study basketball and do it. I think there is something about studying another sport, just certain methods of another sport to give you insight and to give you an advantage in your own sport. And we've seen this in most sports. I just heard Danny Hurley. We have this sound from my man Patrick Davis. Danny Hurley, the UConn coach, talks about how he has studied football, college and pro, to really help take UConn's offense and UConn's game to the next level.
So I think the inspiration the last 2 years, especially this year, is like watching college football now, or Shanahan from the NFL, how they'll have these formations. Obviously, the pace and the tempo of their cuts and their actions, but like how they'll have trips out of shotgun, with two in the backfield, and out of that formation, there's like 7 or 8 different things they do out of it, right? There's like a sweep, a play action, a deep post, right? All these different things. So I think going into this year, me and Luke Murray, we got together and we're like, we want to have 10 different formations, all right? Whether it's, a floppy, a regular horns with the 4 and 5 high, an inverted horns, a low 1-4, a box set. We want to have 8 to 10 different, different formations that we would have, all these different wrinkles for, right? Something for a shooter, whether it's like a, wide pin or flare rescreen, or, a jets for us, which are staggers. So out of every formation, we want to have something for a shooter, something that's going to finish with some type of a ball screen action, something with a deep post up, something to open up an ISO for somebody to drive it. We want to have, so out of each formation, anytime we run it, the defense is going to have no idea whether it's a post up, something for a shooter, or whatever it is. So,
infusing sophistication and complexity in an offense, but framed by simplicity, right? You want it to look simple, but yet you run 15 different concepts and plays out of that one basic formation, which is kind of the Shanahan principle in a lot of the modern offenses. But we've seen, and I heard LeBron James, we played this actually earlier this year. LeBron James talks about how Eric Spoelstra was inspired to go study Chip Kelly's spread offense to help him learn how to maximize space and create more space with the Miami Heat when LeBron James became a player there.
I'm going to tell you when it all changed. Obviously, my first year there, played great basketball, got all the way to the finals, losing the finals. Spo is the reason why we were a better team and our team was more assembled properly. That summer, he went to Oregon and hung out with Chip Kelly.
Oh, interesting.
He when we lost to Dallas, he went to Oregon and hung out with Chip Kelly and learned the spread offense and tried to figure out if he could translate that to basketball.
And I know it sounds crazy, but I do think there may be something for the defensive coach that takes to learn about how to configure the most effective, efficient lineup, specifically in that secondary. So learning from other sports and learning from other coaches in other sports to give you insight into your own is not something new. As a matter of fact, there's a great book called The Inner Game. Originally Steve Kerr, who swears by it, he actually built the culture of the Warriors off of this book called The Inner Game. Pete Carroll built a culture, a Super Bowl culture of the Seattle Seahawks off of this, the thought process, the philosophy of this book, and still swears by it today. It's like they're considered one of their favorite, if not their favorite book when it comes to sports psychology and competitive balance and, really team building, those types of things. And Chip England, is it Chip England, the Spurs assistant coach, Patrick? Is that his name?
Chip England,
he's the one that introduced Steve Kerr to the book.
Okay.
So when Steve Kerr was when him and Steve Kerr were their cross paths, he's the one that Steve Kerr said he introduced him to the book, and he's like a famous shooting coach, right? Chip England is.
And he's now in Oklahoma City, but that's what I was trying to figure out.
There you go. Yeah. And he was with the Spurs, famous. I think that's where
he was the guy who fixed Tony Parker's shot and Kawhi Leonard's and all those guys' shots.
Yes. Yeah. And apparently he uses the Inner Game in his methodology. So it's a really famous book, and coaches swear by it. My point is, it's a tennis book. It's originally called The Inner Game of Tennis. And they studied this book about tennis to learn about sports psychology and the mindset that an athlete needs to have. My point being, it is not rare to go study another sport to gain advantage and insight into your own. And I think Texas might need to do this when it comes to their defensive backfield, because they have a lot of guys who are versatile. You got Makuba that can play any position in the secondary. You got Jadae Barron can play any position in the secondary. You got Jalen Gilbert that can play corner and also play nickel. You got Jelani McDonald's, a guy that came in that can play any position in that secondary too, and he's now in the rotation. So you have pieces that you can mix and match and move around, and you don't have a ton of talented experienced depth. So maybe in terms of manufacturing depth, you just learn what are the best lineups instead of doing the wholesale rotation where you're going to expose all those young players now, the Kobe Blacks and the Xavier Filsames, and expose them and then get their confidence shot and throw them out there way too early when they're not ready. More mixing and matching with these versatile pieces to give you the most effective lineup game to game. Now, I know you probably should have been troubleshooting that during the spring, but I believe there's an opportunity during training camp to do it too. And I don't think it would take that much practice to figure out what your most effective lineups are. So that would be my suggestion for Texas. Especially if you don't pick up another DB in the transfer portal, you definitely need to figure out what are your best lineups, not necessarily your doing wholesale rotations, like who are your frontline starters and then who are your backups and your rotational players. Just figure out who are your most effective lineups and configurations. That would be my suggestion. All right, we come back. We have Off the Record on the other side. We'll get into some of the wild, wacky sports stories and stories from beyond the sports world. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Baber is coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Let's get to off the record here. A couple of stories got to hit. President Biden just signed a bill banning TikTok in America unless it's sold to a U.S.-based company. But the current CEO of TikTok, Xiao Zichu, he says he is not selling TikTok to an American company, and he is going to fight this legislation in the courts, and he believes the Constitution is on his side, and ultimately he believes that he will win this whatever eventual court case. So there you go. TikTok will be banned in the U.S. Does this affect you at all, Patrick? Does this affect your life at all?
No, I don't think so. I don't have TikTok on my phone.
I don't have TikTok either, so it doesn't really affect me.
I don't think it does.
People, it's their major source of social media.
Yeah,
it's their go-to.
It's their go-to. I don't know. This seems like a weird one to me because it's one of those ones that I don't like. It feels like it's wrong, but it feels like there has to be a reason for it. And I know that they're supposed to be stealing information and all this other stuff.
They believe the Chinese government is like basically tracking and stealing American data and information through the TikTok app, and it poses a national security risk.
Yeah,
I think that's it in a gist. I think that's kind of
but I think every app steals.
Or this is geopolitical politics, that kind of stuff.
Because doesn't every single app take all your information and steal all your stuff? And
they all do. They every last one.
I don't know. I don't know. That's why I watch sports, so I don't have to know this stuff.
There you go. This is our non-sports segment here. How about this? This is good news, though. The Department of Transportation has issued a new rule. I hope it's not a rule. I hope it's a law. They need to make it that requires airlines to give you an automatic refund if your flight is canceled or delayed, or if they lose your bags. It comes from the Department of Transportation.
All right.
So now, there's a penalty for the airlines. They gotta, pay for when they screw up your day by losing your bags or canceling your flight. They got to pay for that now. Give you a refund. I like that. That's pretty good. Do you think
people are going to be trying to fake bags in that they can get a refund now?
No, but man, people when
like, because you can fly there.
They usually don't do a damn thing for you. Every now and then they'll give you like a credit. They usually like, no, I'm sorry, you SOL. You get out of here.
Hey, where's your bag? You're like, we don't know.
Exactly. That's your job to know. Figure it out.
Well, where can you find out? I mean, no.
Oh no. Exactly. It's exactly how they're like, no. It's a big airport, man. It could be anywhere.
Yeah,
they scare you more.
Just look around and see how many bags you see. He wants to find one.
No, our airport employees, sometimes they can't be bothered with your stress and stressful situation. So now maybe they'll have to, based on that one. And this is something that we talked about a little bit, just me and you, but the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, just banned non-compete agreements. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has issued a final ruling making it illegal for bosses to make workers sign non-competes in any scenario, and voiding nearly all existing non-competes in America. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
We've
all had to deal with non-competes. I've had like 3 of them in this damn industry alone.
And I told you, the reason I found out about it was because all these wrestling people are freaking out, because wrestling is always the deal that they let somebody go, but then they still have like a 60-day non-compete. So you don't ever get that surprise pop up like right afterwards, and you got to wait.
With the opposing company or with the competing company.
And then they're like, well, this may change that. And now people just pop up on the other brand now. Like if you get fired. Now, if you're working for one, you can't work for both. But
you can work for both. But once you're done with one company, now you can go.
Yeah. Next. If you get fired on Monday, you can show up on Friday at the other one.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It's like the transfer portal in. It's like transfer portal freedom for American workers. I like it. All right, there you go. That is a bit of off the record. We come back. We'll get into all of the NFL stories, man. There are a ton of them. There are mock drafts galore that we have to get into. The Cowboys could have a reunion with Zeke. There is a contract extension signed by Amon-Ra St. Brown that I think will have an effect on the Cowboys negotiations. We'll get into all of it and more. And Raj ran the day, which have potentially a couple of Cowboys nuggets and Texans nuggets that actually could help each other. We have proposed a solution for both the Texans problems and the Cowboys problems. That's what me and Patrick do. We solve problems on this damn show. We'll come back and let you know what that is right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, coming back on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? This is Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. We all love living in the city of Austin, and if you're a homeowner in Austin, better yet, you own some of the most valuable real estate in America. The only downside is that the property taxes are also some of the highest in the state, and many of my fellow Austinites, like you listening right now, are overpaying on your property taxes. Don't worry, I was overpaying on my property taxes too until I found OwnWell. OwnWell can help you protest unfair property taxes and save hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars. OwnWell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. And right now, it'll only take you 3 minutes to sign up at OwnWell, and there are no upfront costs or fees. OwnWell will save you money, or it's free. That's the OwnWell guarantee. And if you don't save, you don't pay. It's just that simple. But 86%, that's right, 86% of OwnWell's customers save on their property taxes. So what are you waiting for? OwnWell handles everything from start to finish, and they deliver an average savings of over $1,100. OwnWell provides you with local tax experts backed by cutting-edge technology and the best in-class customer support available. You got nothing to lose, but you got so much to gain. Save money on your property taxes with OwnWell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com. That's ownwell.com, OwnWell.com. That's ownwell.com. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday here, and that's courtesy of my man Patrick Davis, who is the Ideallionaire. My co-host does a great job of coming up all the great ideas on the show, and one of them is his musically themed days of the week. And today is a new theme Thursday, and he's dedicating a new theme Thursday to the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class. And here's another jam, another banger. Once again, I guess it brings up the debate about whether this is rock and roll, but once again,
it brings up Cool in the Gang. Cool in the Gang going in.
Wow, man,
would not have expected that one, but Cool in the Gang, it's good. A lot of hits.
I would love to ask my former professor at the University of Texas of that history of rock and roll class, which you said that's some texters that said they took the class, and it's like it was a hard class. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I thought I felt like an idiot. I was like, dang, history of rock and roll, am I supposed to be an easy class? Am I the only idiot in here? Like, no, it was a tough class. But I want to ask him because you said one of the theories is that they believe that these other genres of music that they are letting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have more of a historical connection and tie. So maybe they are from the same familial tree, basically, of musical genres, and country music is not. Maybe it's from a separate one.
But we got corrected that Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton are apparently both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So,
there you go then.
But
everybody
it's all about the influence on rock and roll, I guess. And they're saying these influenced rock and roll.
And is it influence on rock and roll, or are you using, basically hybridizing a lot of your whatever your genre is with rock and roll? Is that part of it, or just the influence?
I mean, look, the reality of it is
influence. If you're an iconic, musician or iconic artist, you influenced every genre then.
Yeah, no, and that's I think the reality of it is they want to get big names so they can get more people to come to their museum. That's the reality. It's not anything altruistic or
so they can put Taylor Swift in the future.
Yeah, so they can put in the biggest names in music.
Put in Drake in the future.
Yeah, they can basically turn it into a music hall of fame.
Okay,
and be like, this is the place where you see all of that. That's basically what I think they're doing.
And you know what? It's smart though. And it is smart. We just talked about yesterday how there are certain genres of music that used to be really popular that aren't as popular, like funk.
Yeah,
it's not as popular as it used to be. Soul is not as popular as it used to be. And maybe it's just a contingency plan that in the future, just in case rock and roll starts to fade a little bit and other genres of music, pop and hip hop become, even more mainstream and start to dominate the scene, that, hey, no, we can still use them. We can still use the pop.
Yeah, and I mean,
hip hop artists,
if you're doing a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there's like this glory era of it. And then they're like, well, once we get to the 90s, it's like, okay, well, are we letting in all the 90s bands in like 2 years?
Exactly.
And then what are we doing? Like, we're going to run out of people at a certain point every year.
Boom.
We're putting in too many people, and they're not producing the rock bands at the same rate they used to.
Yes, and they're not producing the iconic, albums and the iconic jams they once did back in the day.
And that's why I think they're trying to hold out on some of them, like
they're smart.
There's certain bands that should be in there, like Iron Maiden should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just one of the greatest touring bands of all time. And they're not in. But I feel like the reason is they're basically like, well, we have to keep holding off these rock bands. Like Ozzy Osbourne should have been in before he is.
Yeah.
And they're like, we have to hold off on Ozzy because we have to wait until we have to have like 3 or 4 a year. And if we just keep putting on 8 a year, then it's just going to be other bands. We don't have any
right, but make sure, be careful here because people are getting older.
I agree.
And
I'm with you. I'd rather be more people get in, but
posthumous thing, So that's kind of my thing. Like, hey, don't wait too damn long. But no, it's good stuff. Good conversation there, and always is. Speaking of good conversations, the big fat poll of the day also is always a great conversation. It is now up. You can go see it at the Horn ATX in the Twitterverse. You can go check it out on the text line 512-447-3776. Patrick, let people know what the big fat poll of the day is.
Big fat poll of the day. Which team trades up to get a quarterback first in the draft? Right now, Vikings leading the way.
Yeah.
Broncos and Raiders both splitting there, and then the Giants coming in at fourth. I think the Giants actually have a decent chance because they're already a high pick.
Yeah, they're already up there. Yeah.
That they could just be able to say, yeah, we'll just go up, and a team may say, like, if you were to get 2 picks and for the Patriots to move down and still get a guy they really want, but they didn't want to get a quarterback and get another pick in there, or the Cardinals to still get a guy they want, moving down 2 spots, just so the Giants trade up so that basically that, someone else doesn't come up and get J.J. McCarthy if they really want him, that you could make that trade. I could see that more than I just don't know if the Raiders are going to be able to leverage enough to do it this season.
No, I gotta say most of the mocks that I'm looking at right now, you're definitely gonna have a team trade up, and you could have multiple teams trade up because more and more I'm seeing more quarterbacks going in the first round. Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft, which we'll add to the list of everybody put out their last mock draft before the actual draft. So I mean, Matt Miller and Daniel Jeremiah and Lance Zierlein made it last mock draft. Bucky Brooks, Jordan Reed. I mean, you name it. Peter Schrager, everybody. And we'll try to go over them as many of them as we can, because I think now these are all the sources and all the behind the scenes nuggets that they've been able to accumulate. I think now you're seeing them throw all of them into this last mock draft. But Dan Jeremiah's got 6 quarterbacks going in the first 22 picks of his last mock draft. So to your point, if that's the case, you're going to have multiple teams trading up to get quarterback. You got 6 going in the first round.
Yeah, you have to.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think 5 is, because I hear a lot about Michael Penix. I'm hearing Michael Penix, Adam Schefter reported that he can get drafted as high, as 8 to the Falcons because they like him. I saw another report from Dan Graziano that said the Giants could go after Michael Penix. So I think you'll get I think right now multiple teams are looking to trade up, but at least one will.
Yeah, I feel like that Bo Nix is not only his age is a little bit of a question mark where people see that he's a little bit older. It's that he did not necessarily produce a lot of stops along the way. And I think there's a lot of people that just feel that Oregon offense is the Oregon offense. And he played well in it. But unless you're that system, then you don't necessarily want to grab him. And so it limits the teams that would necessarily want him.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't see 6 going in the first round, but like I said, I think it could end up being a wild draft overall. All right, I will hit the mock drafts next segment. Rod's rant will be a quick rant, a nugget about the Texans, nugget about the Cowboys in the draft since it's draft day. We got the Horn headlines coming up. Let's do that here momentarily. Then we'll hit the NFL stories. There are a couple of them. Zeke reunion with the Cowboys is a story that's out there being reported, as well as this Amon-Ra St. Brown contract, which I think will affect the negotiations the Cowboys are going to have with CeeDee Lamb. We'll discuss all of that. Also, 2 Bengals who have requested a trade. Something strange going on with the Bengals. 2 really good players for the Bengals requesting a trade. Could that trade happen during draft weekend? We'll talk about that. But first, let's get updated, informed, and educated with my man Patrick Davis with the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas softball will take on Nichols tonight in a matchup where sophomore catcher Reese Atwood will look to set the single-season RBI record for the Longhorns. She tied the mark in the series last weekend. Will look to take the lead on this one. Texas, who is still currently the number 1 ranked team in the country, will push to keep their 9-game win streak and ranking alive with only 7 games left to go in the regular season for Texas softball. Texas basketball secured the commitment of transfer guard Jordan Pope yesterday. Pope, who averaged 17.6 points and 3.4 assists a game while shooting 37% from 3 last season for Oregon State, joins Tremont Mark, Julian Larry, and Jason Kent as transfers added so far by the Longhorns. Texas is still waiting for decisions from center Brandon Garrison and forward Reedus Petritis. In the NBA, the Heat took a game in Boston to even the series 1-1 behind an epic shooting night, making 23 three-pointers to pick up a 111-101 win over the Celtics. And the Thunder looked much more like the number 1 seed in the West with a dominant 124-92 win over the Pelicans. Tonight, 3 teams looking to avoid going down 3-0 return to their home courts, with the Magic hosting the Cavs, the Knicks heading to Philadelphia, and the Lakers facing the Nuggets. In Major League Baseball, the Astros once again allowed a big first-inning lead that they could not overcome. Cubs put up 4 runs in the first, and a Jose Altuve 9th-inning homer was not enough for the Astros, where they fell 4-3 to the Cubs. And the Rangers took the lead after back-to-back home runs from Garcia and Carter and never looked back as they defeated the Mariners 5-1. The Rangers are back in action early today with pregame starting at 1 p.m. here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
I thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. All right, let's get to these stories. A couple of headlines, NFL ones that Cowboys related in one of these. It has been reported by multiple insiders for the NFL, Josina Anderson being one. Also, David Moore, I saw him reported as well that the Cowboys are indeed having conversations with Ezekiel Elliott's agent and his representative. And it is possible, yeah, even though the Cowboys are still paying Zeke, or at least they were last season. I think my man Patrick said they are still paying him, even for this season, that they could bring him back in some capacity. He won't cost a lot. It'll be cheap and cost effective. I don't necessarily think this should have been the Cowboys' plan at running back, but they're out of the good ideas phase because they haven't looked to the free agency, and all the good free agents are going at the running back position, even though this was a really deep year for free agent running backs, one of the deepest in a couple of years at the running back position. They didn't act there. They didn't draft one last year, and the Cowboys, obviously, their belief in Tony Pollard that he was going to be the answer for him at running back, that didn't work out either, and Tony Pollard is gone. So they're out of good ideas. They're down to the Argo principle, the best bad idea. And Zeke, it could be one of the best bad ideas for him. Not in a role to be a workhorse kind of main course running back for them. He can't necessarily be the focus of the running game, but as a specialized short yardage back, or as a guy that can help you in pass protection, or a guy that can be part of a running back by committee, which is basically what you have now with Royce Freeman, you got Rico Dowdle, you got Deuce Vaughn, you got Hunter Luepke, who's basically a fullback, you got Malik Davis, and whoever you're going to draft potentially at the running back position, and you'll end up cutting that down after you get to your 90 down to your whatever your game day roster is going to be. But I think there's a place for him potentially, situationally, especially depending on how cheap he is, if he's really, really cheap. But like I said, I don't love it, but I don't know if the Cowboys have a lot of options at this point. They definitely need to draft one, and they probably should bring on Zeke too, at least as an option. And by the way, if he looks terrible, you cut him because you're going to be paying him pennies anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
just cut him.
yeah, I wouldn't give him a dime of guaranteed money.
Exactly.
I wouldn't. I just don't like the idea, because this is also something that we've talked about, over the last year and a half, that we know Jerry Jones never wanted to cut Zeke. And Jerry Jones has been pissed off that he had to cut Zeke because everybody told him that the guy's washed up. He was washed up 2 years ago. He was washed up 3 years ago. And, you're bringing in an older guy. And I just, I get there's nostalgia and everything else. I don't know if he's the best influence in the locker room to bring in a guy who you're going to sit on the bench most of the time, and he's going to come in and run for 2 yards and then go back on the sideline. And then every time you put him in, they'll blitz like crazy because they know it's a pass play, because they know he can't run the ball. He's just good at pass pro. I just like, I feel you have to aim forward. It feels like it's more of this, we're all in. And by all in, we mean we're not trying to win. We know we're blowing this team up. And we'd really like to sandbag Dak and CeeDee Lamb like as much as we possibly could, because we don't want to pay him and we don't want to get paid elsewhere. We don't care anymore. We're mad that we're not getting the advantages anymore. That's what it all feels like. I get if you can get him for 1.5, but again, let's put it this way. Nothing's been done yet. I don't think you even look at him. I wouldn't have had the conversation until after the draft. I don't think until you go through this draft, if there's trades available, if there's anything else available, I'm not even talking to him, because I don't need the rest of my team to see that I'm going to look at Zeke. And if I'm Micah Parsons or CeeDee Lamb, and I know Dak's his friend, but if I say, well, what are we doing to upgrade our team, and I'm not getting paid, and they want to go bring back a guy that 3 years ago was washed.
Yeah, but I'm not disagreeing with you that he's not he's a shell of what he was, but because of the irresponsible manner in which the Cowboys have approached the running back position the last 2 years, they're in the situation where, like I said, the best bad idea. This may be your best bad idea, but I agree with you. Do it after the draft, because you may have other opportunities. But the Cowboys, listen, they could have upgraded the running back position. They just haven't. I'm not saying Zeke's an upgrade. It's just at this point, you need bodies back there at running back at this point, just for the training camp. So it's an option for him, not the best option. But I agree with you for the most part, Patrick. I agree. He's washed up. I think he can do short yardage for you. I think he can pass protect for you. I'm not even saying he'd be a capable runner in down-to-down situation, just in specialty situations. But that is something that's out there being reported, that reunion. Also, for Cowboys, I think it affects Cowboys fans and the Cowboys as an organization. Amon-Ra St. Brown signed an extension with the Detroit Lions. And now his extension is going to make him one of the top 3 highest paid receivers in football. I've seen varying reports about how much it is in terms of base salary average per year. Spot Track, which is really over the cap.com. They do a really good job keeping up with base salary. They have him at 30 million per year. Tied with Tyreek Hill, who's also at 30 million per year. Devontae Adams at 28 million per year. Pro Football Talk had him at 27.5, 28 million per year, which would have put him tied with Devontae Adams or right underneath Devontae Adams. So I've seen different reports about what the average per year is. I'm sure we'll get clarity on it. Either way, he's top 3, which means, and he's being signed after his 3rd year, and he's a first-team All-Pro now. And CeeDee Lamb, first-team All-Pro after his 4th year, but he was second-team All-Pro after his 3rd year. If you'd have signed CeeDee after his 3rd year, think about the discount you would have gotten as opposed to signing him now that he went All-Pro, second-team All-Pro 2 years ago, first-team All-Pro last season. Now he's thinking, hey, man, I'm only trending in the right direction. I'm, based on the All-Pro status, the best receiver in the league. I want to be paid like that. So you want to pay him more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, because Amon-Ra St. Brown, if the over the cap, the over the cap figure is correct, he's being paid top dollar. He's the highest paid receiver in the league, or tied for it with Tyreek Hill. If that is indeed the case, people would argue, at least I would, and CeeDee Lamb's agent would, that CeeDee Lamb's better than him. And you got to pay top dollar. But that's why getting deals done earlier, like Jane Slater was asking the Cowboys about in that sound and audio we played for you yesterday, if you sign these players sooner rather than later, you do get discounted rates.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it at the time. You're like, damn, I'm still paying a lot of money. But it's only a matter of time before that amount, it starts to drop down and become 4th, 5th, 6th in terms of highest paid player at that position, instead of being the top highest paid player. But you got to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And if they did that with CeeDee, they'd have been good.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's that guaranteed money is going to keep creeping up, which makes it not only, harder to re-sign, but then harder to trade a guy with the more guaranteed money, because that falls into dead cap and that falls into different areas that are just make it more difficult to trade somebody with more of that guaranteed money on their contract. And he's going to want more than Amon-Ra got. I believe Amon-Ra is what, 77?
Yeah, he's going to want more guaranteed money than Amon-Ra. Yeah, no doubt. Totally agree with that. There's no question. So he's going to want more guaranteed money, and he's going to want the average per year. And my thing is, if you wait on Jamar Chase and you wait on Justin Jefferson, and those guys are also considered way better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, so they're dancing too, because they're considered those guys are considered way better. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 10 receiver, but in terms of you asked to rank the best receivers in football, a lot of guys would have him outside the top 5. You'd have your Tyreek Hills, Devontae Adams would be in that conversation. For some, Cooper Kupp is still in that conversation. AJ Brown may be in there. I mean, there are a lot of guys you would put in there that have earned that All-Pro status in the last 3 or 4 years at wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is probably dancing and having fun. He's probably thinking about his big payday. So if you're the Cowboys, I just think you learn a lesson, at least from Detroit. Yes, it's big money for them signing Amon-Ra St. Brown right now, but they got that in before Ayuk, before Jamar Chase, before Justin Jefferson. And by the time those guys sign, that Amon-Ra St. Brown deal, he'll be 3rd or 4th highest paid receiver. And the Cowboys, once again, their miscalculation of the wide receiver market. They did it with Amari Cooper when they traded him for a 5th round pick, I believe that it was. They traded Amari Cooper for, I believe it was a 5th and a 6th. Dallas received a 5th and a 6th, and they traded Amari Cooper for a 6th, and they gave away a 6th and Amari Cooper. So essentially, it was a 5th round pick. And then we found out later that Devontae Adams got traded for a 1st and a 2nd round pick. Tyreek Hill got traded for a 1st, 2nd, and a 2 4th and a 6th round pick. And then AJ Brown went for a 1st and I believe a 3rd round pick. And hell, at the time, I believe Amari Cooper was younger than Tyreek Hill and younger than Devontae Adams when they signed him. And he was making $20 million a year.
Yep.
And now I believe $20 million a year. Let me go look at these wide receiver. I believe $20 million a year. There are Oh man, I can tell you how many receivers are making it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 receivers making at least 20 million a year. It was I mean, that's kind of what we're getting at with the Cowboys. You're miscalculating the market. I think they're doing it again with CD. Okay, two other NFL stories. What are your thoughts, real quick? Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins both requesting a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals.
So T. Higgins, I believe, just reiterated his trade request because he asked for this.
Reiterated again.
Yeah,
okay.
When they franchise tagged him, he was like, "I'm not resigning." He got franchise tagged. He said, "Screw you! I don't want to play here. You guys don't want to pay me. I don't want to risk an injury to go somewhere where you do not appreciate me. I'm not a wide receiver one. You don't want to use me, and you're not going to pay me." Trey Hendrickson apparently was in this camp too. Of you're not going to pay me. I don't want to be here. It feels as if this is Cleveland, that Cincinnati is in the point where they were really trying to hold it together with rubber bands and duct tape to get through this year of the window and then try and figure it out afterwards. And the rest of the team, the history of this owner being really cheap, I think it's coming back to bite them. That no one believes. The agents are telling them that they will not re-sign you. They will not play you top dollar here in Cincinnati. They don't have the cap room to do it because they're going to sign these other guys. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are going to take the cap. And so they're going to have to make deals on the other end. And, your best case scenario is to go try and find yourself a trade where you can go get paid and not risk injury and not risk playing on a contract that you're not going to make any more money from these Bengals. And I think that's, this has been the problem with the Bengals for a long time is they were cheap. And it feels like that's kind of where we're at with some of these players right now.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like that. I mean, there's two of their best. And this is their window. And Joe Burrow did sign his deal already. So Joe Burrow is already on the books, but that Jamar Chase deal, that's looming for him. And I do think they feel pressure for the 5-year window. This is the 5th year that Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor have been together. I believe they've been together for 5 years now.
Yeah.
So they are right up against the 5-year window. No head coach quarterback combo has won their first Super Bowl outside of that 5-year window. So if they don't win it in the first 5 years, history would suggest they're not going to win it. And Joe Burrow is right there with it. When Joe Burrow come into the league? 2021?
Sounds about right.
First year? Maybe 2020 or somewhere around there. But either way, they're, like I said, that 5-year window, they're right up against it. All right, let's get to Rod's rant really quickly, and then we'll get to some of these mock drafts. Let's do it. So Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor are feeling it. This is the 5th year. 2024 will be the 5th year they're together of that 5-year window. Okay, Cowboys. How about this one? Dane Brugler saying the Cowboys are an interesting wild card in the back half of round 1. I don't see Barton, Fawatanu, or the left tackle they want falling to 24, and doubtful Dallas will trade up. He said trade back feels like the most realistic scenario, maybe out of the first round altogether. And then you combine that with this report from Diana Rossini of The Athletic, when she says that the Texans aren't on the clock until the second round, but I wouldn't put it past Nick Caserio, we call him Cook Caserio, to trade into the first round Thursday night. I'm expecting Houston to at least try, just based on Caserio's history. He traded 8 times last year, 7 times in 2022. And by the way, no GM in the NFL has traded more than Nick Caserio since he took over the GM duties for the Texans. He's traded 9 more times than any other GM in the league. So I agree with this, Patrick. And how about this? Why not trade with the Dallas Cowboys? Because the Dallas Cowboys, they may be looking to trade out of the first round to accumulate more picks because they need cheap labor. They need cheap picks. So that would make sense. And then you would get, an extra second, extra middle round pick. And if you're the Texans, you can even throw in Damian Pierce as a running back, which the Cowboys need. And they can get their running back in this draft via trade. And they could still draft Jonathan Brooks, but they can reshape the running back room in one draft and trade down and get more draft capital. Boom, problem solved.
Yeah, and for Casario, they've known they've made the Brandon Cooks trade last year, so they've already had their conversations. And for the Texans, if yours a DB, I think that's a position you most be looking at right now is probably that DB. And if you can go get that guy, and he falls down the draft, I mean, you'd love if Byron Murphy fell that far, but I don't think he falls to where they'd be able to get to him. We're seeing those mock drafts now. We'll get into that, but he's looking higher and higher right now. But if you get a DB and, that room where you have Stingley right now and you like to put another guy right next to him and have a young core of that secondary to help you out a little bit on defense, I mean, it's hard to pass. It's hard to pass if those guys slip. If you want to take D linemen, O linemen, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and those DBs just slip down a little bit and slip down, you get a top 3 DB in the draft, pick 24.
24. Yeah, man.
Ooh, and you just have to give a running back that you weren't going to really play that much anyway, didn't fit in your scheme.
And I trust Casario when it comes to talent evaluation because he's been killing it lately in the draft, man.
Yeah.
So
that'd be fun to watch.
I'll tell you, that would make a lot of sense. I'm telling you, that move would make a lot of sense for the Cowboys and for the Texans. There you go. So we're just trying to solve problems here on the Rodcast. My man Patrick Davis. All right, we come back. Mock drafts. We'll just throw as many mock drafts at you as we can. We'll see where the Longhorns stand. Not 24 hours, actually hours before the NFL draft. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Aside from the traffic, we all love this city, and there's so many reasons that Austin is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Great people, great food, great music, great culture, and even the city itself, right? It's such a unique city, all the iconic landmarks in this city that make it so unique. And what you may not know is, but all these iconic landmarks, at least a lot of them, were actually built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482. You might be driving by them right now, or maybe you're parked in traffic by some of them right now, like Pennybacker Bridge or DKR Stadium. And right now, our folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 are constructing another big project right here in Central Texas, and they need your help. They're hiring over 3,000 people for this project. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now, it's a perfect time if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or maybe you just want to feel valued by your employer. You can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. And right now, it's the perfect time to do it. So go online and apply right now at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday. My man Patrick, the Ideillionaire, dedicating the new theme Thursday to the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class, and giving a shout out to all of the different artists and bands who are being honored by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who we jamming right now?
Dave Matthews Band.
There you go.
Dave
I like
Matthews
it.
Band going in.
Yeah, going into. Oh well, there you go. That fits.
It's close.
It's close.
Close.
So I mean, it's closer than some of the other ones.
It's closer than some of the other ones. I'll give it that. I was like, I don't know if I count this as rock though. I don't know. Anybody's like, man, I'm going to rock out to some Dave Matthews.
Yeah. I mean, some people I'm sure are rocking out to Dave Matthews. What's the genre of Dave Matthews in? What is?
I think it's more jam. I think it's more jam band than rock. But that's just me.
All right, there you go. No, like I said, I know you are a music enthusiast, not a snob, so I know you'll get it right. But good stuff there from my man Patrick. New theme Thursday, celebrating the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class. All right, let's get to this NFL draft class for 2024. Let's get to some of these mock drafts because they're interesting. I want to hit as many of them as I can while we got some time because everybody's releasing their last mock draft, and this is all the information they gathered throughout silly season and scouting season. So my man moved the sticks at Daniel Jeremiah, his latest mock draft. He's got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May taken with the top 3 quarterbacks. But by the Bears, Washington, and the New England Patriots. The first Longhorn. Oh, he's also got Michael Penix going 13th overall. And J.J. McCarthy going 11th overall. So Penix going to the Raiders, J.J. McCarthy going to the Vikings. So he's got, I take it back. He's got 6 quarterbacks taken in his draft. He's got Bo Nix going 22nd to the Denver Broncos. So he's got 6 quarterbacks going in his first 22 picks. So getting back to your big fat poll of the day question, there'll definitely be some teams trading up to go get those quarterbacks if that is the case. Also, Longhorns here, he's got Byron Murphy being taken 18th overall. This is his latest mock draft. Byron Murphy taken 18th overall to the Bengals. And he's got Xavier Worthy going 31st to the 49ers. And he's got A.D. Mitchell going 32nd to the Kansas City Chiefs. Damn, that would be good for both of those guys. This would be great places for both of them. That's awesome.
Yeah, Matt Miller has his mock draft out. He has the quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May going out first. Vikings trading up to 5 to get J.J. McCarthy. Is where he has that, where J.J. McCarthy going. But then your interesting pick 8, he has Byron Murphy going to the Falcons, trying to replace, basically not replace, but be an Aaron Donald type player for Raheem Morris, who came from the Rams. Yeah. That is what he has them picking there. And then the one UNC, Indianapolis Colts at 15, picking Xavier Worthy, says he's going on intel, and the calls and text he has had is number 15 to the Colts. Xavier Worthy is where Matt Miller says he is hearing that teams are really high on Xavier Worthy and that they may go take him at 15. And then Buffalo, he has Adonai Mitchell going there as well. And then Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle from Georgia, going to the Cowboys.
That's been a popular one. It seems A.D. Mitchell to the Buffalo Bills, you said? That has been a popular one for a long time in the mock draft world. Oh, yeah, thank you for bringing up the Cowboys, Patrick. Cowboys in Daniel Jeremiah's draft. He's got the Cowboys taking Graham Barton. Excuse me. Graham Barton, the offensive lineman. So a lot of people got him taking offensive lineman. Getting back to it, Peter Schrager has his latest mock draft. He's got Caleb Williams going first to the Bears, Jaden Daniels, going second to the Commanders, Drake May going third to the Patriots. But how about this? J.J. McCarthy going 7th to the Vikings. He's got Bo Nix going 12th to the Denver Broncos. Getting back to your question about teams trading up to get their guy. And he's got Michael Penix Jr. going 13th to the Raiders. So more and more of these mock drafts, the closer we get to the actual draft, they got 6 quarterbacks going. And now he's 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. 6 quarterbacks going like in the top 20 picks. But getting back to the Longhorns on this Peter Schrager draft, he's got Byron Murphy 15th to the Colts, Xavier Worthy 17th to the Jags, and A.D. Mitchell 31st to the 49ers. All right, so there you go. To the Jags. I haven't seen Xavier Worthy to the Jags, but there you go. And how about this one, Patrick? And this kind of goes to the one you brought up now with the Colts taking Xavier Worthy. Lance Zierlein, who's really plugged in too. Lance Zierlein's dad was a coach in the league, so he's pretty plugged in. He has Xavier Worthy going to the Colts as well at 15. And he's got him going ahead of Byron Murphy. He's got Byron Murphy going 16th overall to the Seattle Seahawks in his latest mock draft. And in terms of the Longhorns, he's got, I believe, A.D. Mitchell going to the 49ers. So you got multiple drafts, have the 49ers taking A.D. Mitchell, and now we got multiple guys who are pretty connected having the Colts taking Xavier Worthy. And if you're looking at who, and I should be telling you who the Cowboys are taking, they got Tyler Guyton as the Cowboys pick here by the Cowboys at 24 overall by the Lance Zierlein mock draft, his latest mock draft. Quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May going 1, 2, and 3. With the Drake May pick is by the Giants trading up to get Drake May in his mock draft, and the Bears and the Commanders first and second taking Caleb Williams and then Jaden Daniels. He also has JJ McCarthy being taken early. JJ McCarthy going 8th overall to the Vikings, trading up to go get their guy with the quarterback. So once again, a lot of teams have these quarterbacks going early and often off the board. And he also has Michael Penix Jr. going 25th to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, so that's similar.
Quarterbacks.
That's similar to Field Yates. Field Yates has Caleb, Jaden, and Drake May all 1, 2, 3. Then he has the Vikings trading up to 8 to get JJ McCarthy. Then he will have Michael Penix Jr. going 13th to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow.
And Bo Nix going 19th to the Rams, trying to find their next guy. Has all 6 of them going in the top 20 as he has Field Yates in his latest mock draft. He also does have Tyler Guyton for the Cowboys is where he's going, another offensive lineman. That is pretty much the trend. But he also has the Byron Murphy going to the Falcons, but they trade back to 11 and take him at 11. But he likes Byron Murphy to the Falcons as well. And then he actually takes Xavier Worthy at 21 to the Miami Dolphins. Add to that track meet with the Dolphins is what Field Yates says. And he does have A.D. Mitchell still going in the first round, last pick, to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, so what we're seeing is Byron Murphy getting drafted a little bit higher. He seems to be rising up draft boards if the mock drafts are accurate. And Xavier Worthy seems to be flying up draft boards right now if the mocks are accurate. And if the mocks are accurate, the Longhorns will have 3 first-round draft picks for the first time since 1980, since the year I was born. It's been a long time. But that looks like that's going to be the case. So I'll stay there. I've been going back and forth all season. Are they going to have 2? Are they going to have 3? I feel confident hours before the NFL draft saying the Longhorns will have 3 first-round picks. So Longhorn fans, get ready to celebrate.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing, actually. All right, getting excited about the NFL draft. We'll come back, getting ready to wrap it up and put it in. And we might have, who said that, might be draft day related. We'll come back and talk about that when we come back here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, he dedicates the musical jams on that show to one particular theme. And the theme for today is a tribute to the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class. And wow, is this also
A Tribe Called Quest is going
I
in.
didn't. Man, I like a Tribe Called Quest, but yeah, at this point, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they might as well call it the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Tribe Called Quest going in. And the one we
Yeah.
didn't play because there was 8 entries. We played 7 of them. We had time to
Yeah.
play. Cher also is your 8th entry.
Okay, Cher's all over the place though. Cher's
all over the place, but yeah, but that
in
is
terms of her musical
Yes.
preferences and
yes,
she's
but
awesome.
Hip Hop
She could be in
Pioneers,
there.
A Tribe Called Quest is going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, they definitely are giving themselves a lot of leeway in terms of their definition of what is rock and roll or what affects rock and roll or what's tied or connected to it. Either way, good for them. We explained why it has to be the case. They're thinking outside the box. I appreciate that. Appreciate my man Patrick for thinking outside the box as well. It is time for Who Said That? That's when Patrick dials up some audio from an athlete or a sports personality of some kind, and based on the audio or based on the context clues in the audio, you're supposed to determine and decipher who said that.
Recently saw the video of Leggett saying that he's met with you guys 4 or 5 times, and you guys have told him if he's there at 33, you're taking him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, it was a great conversation. I definitely said that to him and about 50 other guys, man, so we take you at 33. It's actually a lead-in question. So when we draft you at 33, what happens now? And then there's a bunch of questions that happen after that, so part of the process.
There you go. I told that to about him and 50 other guys. That is the Panthers head coach Dave Canales telling the reporter that, I say that to a lot of guys.
How many people do you think got sent that clip when they were like, look, I'm not going further than 33. I'm not dropping further than 33. I've already been told. They send that clip.
You already told me.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
How many 33 picks are there? How many 33 picks?
Yeah, there you go. That's how those a woman feels when she finds out the dude's been telling her sweet nothings that she thought were specifically for her, and turns out like, oh no, his ex-girlfriend and the one that he's dating, he told them similar things. He told them the same stuff. You're not special, and prospects, they not special. And he told them, oh, we're picking you at 33.
Oh, we're picking you at 33. What would you do when we do it?
Exactly. Oh, coach, I'm gonna work. I gotta tell you, I already know. I know your defense. I've been studying your defense. Yeah,
demand to trade off the Panthers. That's what I'm doing.
And so it'd be a whole bunch of upset folks like, man, he told me he was taking me. That's where all those stories come from, though.
Yep.
Of guys saying, hey, man, they said they were gonna take me. It's like, actually, they said that to a lot of guys. Hopefully, that's not the case for the Longhorns tonight in the NFL draft. We'll be talking about NFL draft tomorrow. Remember, the Revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. Hope you guys have a great evening. Enjoy the draft. Thank you, Patrick, for everything you do. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, peace and hook 'em.